also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Thursday, the 20th of August. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Mark White.
Had we not gone out when we did,
our security was being pulled. Everyone in the world knew where we were.
I said, we need to get out of here.
Well, Harry and Meghan have had a change of heart and are returning to Britain. The Sussexes are preparing to move back within weeks, with Archie and Lilibet enrolled at a British school. But could their dramatic return reopen the door to royal life?
Well, what a U-turn from Harry and Meghan. Huge questions remain unanswered this afternoon, including the security cost potentially to the British taxpayer. And also, what does Prince William think about this, who haven't spoken to his brother for a number of years?
More than 80,000 immigration offenders have been removed under Labour, but just 6,000 were small boat migrants. Now ministers are considering a Rwanda-style crackdown involving overseas return hubs. You couldn't make it up.
Nope. And asylum seekers are being handed Home Office booklets explaining what rape is, that sex with children is illegal, and that women are equal to men. If ministers believe these warnings are necessary, should those migrants be allowed into Britain at all?
A Home Office U-turn means the migrant site in Wethersfield will now stay open until 2029. It was supposed to close next spring.
Well, locals here in Braintree are speaking out about concerns linked to the nearby accommodation site for asylum seekers in Wethersfield. We'll be chatting to them shortly alongside a shop owner who said his business has been impacted.
Labour's EU-style net zero tax could double fertiliser prices, hammer farmers and put up food bills. Why is Britain copying Brussels at the expense of our food security?
A McLaren and a Ferrari have been torched in a suspected petrol bomb attack outside a packed Pakistani wedding venue in Birmingham, with a young child just metres away. Police are hunting 3 men who fled the scene. Well, I think it's fair to say both of us were staggered last night when we saw this story about this pamphlet being offered up to asylum seekers, essentially telling them that in this country, we don't have sex with children.
Yeah. I don't know who at the Home Office authorised this or signed off on this, but, I mean, it opens up all kinds of issues for the Home Office as an acknowledgement, of course, of what many people have been saying for some time, that those from certain countries and cultures are a risk group. And they've been shouted down, branded far right for having those kind of views. Now, the government, in terms, is saying that by distributing these pamphlets.
And if they're saying that, and God forbid a woman or a child or even a male pensioner is raped by an asylum seeker who's arrived here illegally, could they then take legal action against the government? You know, you knew these people were a danger. You've spelled it out in this pamphlet. Can I now take you to court?
Yeah, I think potentially
Why not?
yes. And we're going to be hearing throughout the programme from those in some of the affected communities who have expressed their real concerns over safety, have often been branded far right or, you know, jumping on a far right bandwagon. How do they feel now, knowing that the government is handing out such pamphlets to people, warning them to behave themselves?
As you say, can they add this now to the evidence to, you know, fight a legal challenge against the government? GBNews.com/your say. Do let us know your thoughts, but let's get to the headlines with Tatiana.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. The top stories. Harry and Meghan are set to return to the UK 6 years after leaving for America. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are expected to move back at the end of August for their children, Archie and Lilibet, to attend British schools this September. It's understood the King was only made aware of the move on Sunday, which His Majesty is said to be pleased about. The decision comes a month after Prince Harry's reunion with King Charles, a major step towards reconciliation. But it's unclear whether disputed security issues have been discussed.
I would love reconciliation with my family. I don't know how much longer my father has. You know, he won't speak to me because of this security stuff.
In other news, the GCSE overall pass rate has fallen slightly for the 5th year in a row, but top grades have edged up across England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Meanwhile, girls have once again achieved better GCSE results than boys, but the gap between the genders is getting smaller. The results published this morning show 73.7% of females and 67.8% of males achieved grade 4/C or above in their exams this year. Education Secretary Lucy Powell spoke this morning.
All students will, continue to study maths and English where they haven't achieved that good grade in GCSE maths and English. They'll continue to study that until they're 19. But what we need to do is create more stepping stones, more pathways, so that young people aren't facing these huge barriers of entry to moving on to doing an apprenticeship, for example, putting and keeping children on this treadmill. This cycle of constant resits, which only one in five students are actually passing or gaining the grade 4 when they're resitting them. It's a shocking figure.
Those are your latest headlines. For now, more in half an hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Well, it's 12:06. We've got some breaking news to bring you. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations have received confirmation that a tanker has been boarded by 6 armed persons who are now in control of the vessel and redirecting it to Somalia.
Well, it comes after a tanker broadcast a distress call that they'd been approached by an unauthorised vessel while travelling west in the Gulf of Aden.
Well, joining us now is our national reporter Charlie Peters with the details. Charlie, what do we know about this?
Well, this vessel is 136 nautical miles east of Al Mukalla in Yemen. We're hearing from the UK Maritime Trade Operations Centre that it broadcast that distress signal earlier today, and it had been travelling west in the Gulf of Aden. They updated very recently just to say that they had now received confirmation that the tanker had been boarded by 6 armed persons. Vessels are currently being advised to transit with caution and report any suspicious activity to the UK MTO, a Royal Navy-led organisation. But there is some wider context to this. There has been a surge in Somali pirate operations around the Red Sea, particularly off the south coast of Yemen, in the last month or so, particularly amid the uncertainty of maritime security amid the situation in the war in Iran. There had been essentially a peak in 2010 and nothing since then in terms of Somali pirate operation, because there was a major US-led Navy organisation to prevent Somali pirate activity. But recently we have seen further incidents. Just looking at the UK MTO mapping that they have, a different cargo vessels actually boarded and seized 3 days ago, the Lutuf, by 8 armed men, and that was around 4 nautical miles off the Somali coast. Another tanker, which was flagged in Tanzania, an oil and chemical tanker, was also seized by a group in the Gulf of Aden about a month ago and taken towards Somalia as well. And there are reports coming from the UN in recent times as well that the Houthis, that Iran-backed organisation, terrorist group that has great control over the Yemeni coastline area, has developed in recent times closer ties with Somali groups, which has included not just the transfer of weapons, but also TTPs, training and tactics and preparation, intelligence support for activities. This could be the start of another phase in the ongoing Middle East crisis, where the Iranians, not wanting to use their own forces to seize and to redirect tankers, which could put pressure on the American-led operations, they're actually relying not only on their proxies, but proxies of their proxies. Somali pirates here reportedly getting stronger links there with groups in Yemen. I just want to bring you one quote we've got from Corey Ranslam, who is the CEO at Dryad Global, a global maritime cybersecurity and risk intelligence firm. He says, if Al-Shabaab, a major Somali terrorist organisation, and the Houthis formalise a relationship, they would take control of the Red Sea, which is the area just on the map we were showing you now, and the Bab el-Mandeb, that is the small stretch, a strait which connects Somalia and Yemen, and then the Gulf of Aden, and have the Somali pirates be part of that militant organisation, it would fundamentally change the dynamic in the region, and the change would benefit Iran.
Well, there's no doubt they're taking advantage of the global insecurity, which has seen a lot of the naval assets diverted away from that region and over into the Persian Gulf at the moment. And many people won't know this, but a lot of the oil tankers and cargo vessels that transit through areas like this, they now have machine guns on board, armed crews to deal with the piracy issue, but it was never really enough. They needed the Navy, and now that the Navy are being redirected out there, it's easy to see how we're seeing Somali pirates resurgent again.
Yes, and there has been a move from not just the US, but also an EU naval mission, Operation Atalanta, to maintain a presence around the Red Sea to deter Somali pirate operations. But there is wider reporting just from overnight into this morning, remarkable timing really, warning that due to a complex interplay, as some maritime sources are putting it, of internal factors, including within Somalia, that there has been driving this piracy surge that we're seeing over the last month, including drought, illegal fishing, economic hardship and weak government structures. There is a widespread deployment in Somalia by NATO forces and UN forces as well to try and maintain the peace there, and also into Somaliland as well. But the main force that deters these actions is naval forces, as Mark pointed out. Those have been lacking amid the major focus elsewhere. towards the east and the war in Iran.
Well, thank you, Charlie, for bringing us that breaking news.
You can see why it's attractive to young Somali pirates as well. They can earn up to £75,000 a year, which is a phenomenal sum there. I mean,
buy you a lot in
as a trade, it was at the peak. It was about $250 million a year was being seized and held to ransom.
You must have been reporting on it quite a bit back then.
Back in the day, yeah.
Back in the day.
It was a big thing, and we just have not really heard about it. It's never totally gone away, but as Charlie was saying, it is now resurgent without a doubt.
Well, there's a couple who haven't completely gone away. They've never gone away. It's Prince Harry and Meghan.
Yes.
They're moving back to Britain 6 years now after stepping down as working royals.
Yes, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex will return with their 2 children later this month before Archie and Lilibet start school in September.
Yes, King Charles and Prince William have been informed, but the couple are not expected to resume royal duties.
Well, GB News royal correspondent Cameron Walker's been a very, very busy man since this story first broke last night. But still the shock. It's
yes,
all there.
hugely shocking. I suspect they're going to be taking a plane rather than a pirate ship over to the Atlantic. But it is incredibly shocking because they said when they dramatically left as working royals 6 years ago that lots of reasons why we're leaving, one of which press intrusion. The other one is, we just didn't fit in with the institution, this ancient institution which cast Meghan out and didn't like what she was doing, etc., etc., etc. Now they're coming back to the UK. Now, the royal sources are saying, look, they're not going to be working royals. There's no half-in, half-out model. The King was only informed on Sunday, which suggests to me, they haven't really been in regular contact with the royal family over this issue. The Prince and Princess of Wales, the Telegraph are reporting, were also informed in advance, although I know that William and Harry haven't spoken for a number of years, which suggests this could have been a hasty phone call between Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace. What does this mean for Brits? Well, security is a huge issue, of course. This could mean that British taxpayers could be forced to pay money for their security. Now, that's not been confirmed. The Home Office are not commenting on individual security arrangements. There could also be a scenario where the security isn't being upgraded and British taxpayers are not going to be out of pocket. And actually, Harry has just made the decision that, look, I'm going to take whatever risks he sees that there was. It was a successful trip with Meghan and the 2 children back into the United Kingdom last month, where they saw the King at Highgrove. Clearly, the King still is undergoing cancer treatment. He, I understand, is delighted to be able to see his grandchildren more often. But the big sticking point is really going to be William. And also, Harry may have a lot of charity ties here. Great for him. He appears to be having a great time when he's over here in the last year when I've observed him. What is there for Meghan? Her business in the United States, she's still going to be involved in that business, but across the Atlantic, who are her friends here? Does she have charity links here? I think it's going to be far harder for Meghan to integrate than it is for Harry to integrate back.
That's a very good point. What exactly is she going to be doing? I was talking a little earlier. Could it be an As Ever Cotswolds edition in time for Christmas?
Well, Soho Farmhouse is very near the Cotswolds where she had her hen do. So.
But it's a serious point. She certainly needs a network of close friends. Otherwise, she's just going to get completely sort of absorbed in what she thinks people are saying and plotting against her. And it's going to be back to a repeat of what we saw when they skedaddled the last time.
Well, that's the danger, isn't it? Are we going to see a repeat of the dramatic exit that we saw last time? I suspect they must have thought about all of this before making the decision. This clearly has been in the planning for a number of months because they've not only found a home, they've also enrolled their 2 young children, who are 5 and 7, into a British school. So that takes some planning, all of which, of course, happened outside of the public gaze. So the argument that the media are going to be intruding on their lives perhaps doesn't stack up
and
as
Meghan
much
said
as
previously that they were worried about that they would never be able to do the school run in Britain because of the hostile press and everywhere.
Well, the Prince and Princess of Wales manage it every single day, driving their children to school. I'm sure Harry and Meghan will be able to too.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's quite a stark turnaround, isn't it? After they said, a big part of why they left was because of racism, mostly from the press, they argued, but it remains. Indeed, Meghan said she had suicidal thoughts, didn't she, when she was pregnant with Archie?
Yeah, she did.
But we're now joined by the royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams. Richard, thank you for joining us. You know what? I want to know the details here, and you may not be able to give them to me. I want to know where exactly they're going to be living. I want to know which schools they're going to be sending their children to. Will they be boarding? Will they be doing the school run? What business ventures are they going to have back over here? Are they selling the Montecito mansion, or are they going to keep that in the locker? Are they going to be travelling through to and from? How is their relationship going? You know, I want all the details.
Are they going to have an outside swimming pool?
Yeah.
Yes, no, well, all these questions are very, very interesting. The trouble is they haven't been absolutely clear on these matters yet. I mean, quite honestly, what I think is so disgraceful about this whole thing is that it looks as though, and this may change, because I think that to get anything out of the royal family, so to speak, some sort of apology for the disgraceful slurs on Oprah, the Harry and Meghan documentary with its attacks on the Commonwealth. Harry's memoir has sold superbly, but look at some of the mess inside, and also some of the nasty things that he repeated on about the royal family allegations. We ought to have some type of apology. The point is that they are both absolutely ruthless, but also, in my opinion, not particularly bright. The combination is pretty toxic, but they do have a brand, and the world is interested in what they do. So it's very difficult, and I think it's going to be a problem for the royal family to handle this, because you've got, so to speak, some sort of bogus or semi-bogus court, but in Britain, which is, when you're in situ, it's so much easier to deal with them when they're in Montecito.
I hear what you say, Richard, but, I mean, the King is going to be the bigger man, isn't he? He's not going to demand an apology. He's just going to hope that, you know, things can improve between, you know, Harry's side of the family and the other side of the family.
Oh, I think you're probably right. That, I think, also is a problem, because it means that they can get away with any comment, however outrageous, or put on, let's say, for example, some of the stuff they posted. Meghan's twerking video is one, or the fact that they apparently thought that they'd been told, which they could not have been, that their wedding caused rejoicing in South Africa comparable to the release of Nelson Mandela. So they really have got they're very, very erratic. But what I think the royal family should be bracing itself for, very quietly, perhaps very gently, over the coming months, perhaps years, is a huge public initiative from public relations point of view, because they are so low in the polls in Britain. And Harry, I accept as an exile, feels lonely and wants to return. Well, they are returning. I can't see her being particularly keen on it. But you've only got 22% of the population, according to YouGov, who support Meghan, and 33% Harry. That's pretty shocking.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that changes a little now people know that they're returning. Richard, really appreciate you coming on. Richard Fitzwilliams, their royal commentator. I can't help but see this as a positive in terms of an economic boost. You know, we've been losing a lot of millionaires. We've got a couple more coming back. Could this make us more of a destination nation?
Yeah, as long as they register properly for taxes in this country and don't try and do some American scheme. But
you know, our entrepreneurs that have gone off to Dubai or whatever, they might think, oh, you know, it's time to get back to Britain.
Yes.
Maybe that's wishful thinking. Anyway, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up.
More than 80,000 immigration offenders have been removed under Labour, but just 6,000 were small boat migrants, despite more than 80,000 illegal immigrants arriving over the Channel. Now ministers, we're told, are considering a Rwanda-style crackdown, having ditched the whole scheme on their first day in office. Go figure.
Quite, but after the break, asylum seekers are being given Home Office leaflets explaining rape, consent and women's rights. It's truly shocking, the contents of this one. The former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, has been warning about attitudes towards women from certain migrants for a number of years, and she'll be joining us shortly.
All that and much more coming up on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You.
That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Harwood. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Well, it's 12:24. Welcome back to Good Afternoon Britain. Now, just a warning for you. There are some graphic details here. The Home Office are giving illegal migrants a booklet on how not to rape women and children in this country.
Well, the booklet says laws and customs here may be different from your home country. It says sex with someone under the age of 16 is a serious crime in the UK. Even if they say, yes, it's still illegal. You could go to prison, it says, lose your support and accommodation, and it will affect your asylum claim.
That word could, I think, is problematic. To use the language of the progressive left.
Yeah,
I think it's problematic because it should be you will go to prison.
Well, they clearly put it in
support.
because they'll say, oh, well, they've not been convicted yet. They could just add, if you're convicted, then you will go to prison.
OK, fair enough. You've got your legal hat on. Yes, fair enough. Well, GB News reporter Isabel Fekelak joins us now from Wethersfield, where the local asylum centre was meant to close in 2027, but is now staying open until 2029. A lot of locals there, Isabel, who aren't exactly chuffed about that site being used for asylum seekers. Having seen this pamphlet now, I'm sure their mood has hardened.
Yes, absolutely. Good afternoon to you both. I'm here in Braintree, which is just a short distance away from the Wethersfield site, which is used to house up to 1,245 male asylum seekers between the age of 18 and 65. And as you say there, that could now go on to until 2029, despite original plans for it to close in 2027. Locals here are frustrated. They feel like their concerns haven't been heard. And certainly with this this news of the booklet. I've spoken to many shocked residents this morning. Now, people are concerned about public safety, also the impact that it's having on local businesses. I've spoken to one business owner this morning who's talked about that impact. His name is Richard Sambridge from the shop The Natural Way. Take a listen.
In Braintree for over 40 years, and this last year has been probably a real struggle. We have a lot of older customers and they seem to be getting concerned about coming into town on certain days. I think there's buses that perhaps drop the asylum seekers off on a Thursday particularly, so it's the day you're here. We've been very quiet today, and I think other businesses feel the same way.
Well, concerns of residents not feeling safe, and that's stopping people from coming into town. I've got a group of locals here who have come to this cafe to discuss those concerns, and I'm going to be joined now by a resident, Lynn. Lynn, so you've told me this morning that you feel slightly afraid to come into town. Just talk me through what your main concerns are.
Well, my main concerns are that we get a lot of men busted into the town, and they are in groups, and we don't have hardly any police at all in the town to protect us. So now, as women, we tend to just go to the shops really early in the morning before the buses come in because we're too scared. I've had groups of men running up towards me and calling out things before. We've written to James Cleverley, Braintree District Council, and also the Home Office asking for help. The Home Office didn't even reply to us. So we've now set up a women's safety group, and we purchase ourselves, and we've got a donor as well, these safety alarms, and we hand them out to women. So we have a coffee morning here on a Monday with all the ladies, and we hand out these alarms to protect the women. So we're doing it ourselves because we just feel like we've been abandoned, and we've had this for 3 years, this camp in the town. It's not against the men, it's against the authorities not looking after us. And there's only one person, Nathan Robbins from Reform, who's actually helped us, and also Michelle, Free Speech Shell. She has been fantastic. She's organised protests. But basically, this government has abandoned us and just left us with lots and lots of men coming into town and no protection. And this is, we're just looking after each other now because we've had to resort to that.
Well, it's great to see the support here within the group, and thank you so much, Lynn, for speaking to me. Enjoy the rest of your coffee morning. Now, the Home Office, of course, have said that the crackdown on the asylum hotels, that's a wider effort. The use of these sites is to try and save the taxpayer money there, and of course people here feel that they haven't been heard, but we will try and give them a voice here today. We'll give them some time to chat to us on GB News, and I will be chatting to locals heading into Wethersfield later on as well.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job, Isabel, getting the thoughts of people who are actually, concerned on the ground about these matters. But we've got a message from the Prime Minister, Andy Burnham. He's been reacting to the Home Office document, this document that tells asylum seekers.
If you break UK law, you will be removed from the country, and we have seen that in relation to immigration, where removals are significantly up. I'm currently working to ensure that foreign national offenders who can be removed from the prison system are removed from that system. So it follows that if we're taking this approach, people are made it's made explicitly clear what the UK law is and what the societal norms of the UK are, and that's why this approach is being taken.
Now, also news. Happy?
Well, what do you make of that?
Well, I mean, the whole point is that, yes, of course, you want people to obey the laws here, but if you are going to the trouble of printing pamphlets that have to tell people such fundamentals as having sex with children under the age of 16 is illegal, or that a woman has to give her consent, there's something far wrong. It points to real issues, societal issues in cultures and countries where these illegal immigrants are coming from. That's the wider issue that so many people in Wethersfield, where Isabel Fekulak has just been reporting from, in Crowborough, in so many other towns and cities across the country have real concerns about.
I find it quite upsetting, actually. There are so many women and children and men as well out there who have been concerned about this issue for years and years and years. And they've been scared to speak out about it because it's controversial, because people can slap you down and say you're being a racist or you're being a bigot or you're far right or, you know, whatever else. When actually here is the Home Office saying that these people need to be told what rape is, the definition of rape. But let's speak to Reform UK spokesperson. Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to take a very quick break. We'll be back in just a moment. OK, we'll speak to the former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, very soon indeed. She's been warning about this issue for quite a long time, hasn't she, Mark?
Yes, all of that, of course, with Suella Braverman and much, much more coming your way after the break. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Plenty of showers around today for many parts of the UK, but especially for England and Wales, where there'll be thunderstorms and it will feel much cooler compared with summer so far. Marked change in weather, high pressure now out to the west of the UK, low pressure to the east, and that's bringing this cool northerly airflow and instability, causing a lot of shower development into the afternoon. The most lively downpours with hail and thunder moving through northern England into the Midlands and parts of Wales by the afternoon, merging to give longer spells of rain. In between there will be some bright spells, especially in the far south, although temperatures at 22, 23 Celsius mean that it's actually below average for a change. Further north, even cooler for Scotland, northern England. Still some showers, not as many or as lively as recent days. So we end the afternoon and go into the evening with further showers, but they'll be easing across the southwest while continuing through much of Wales, the Midlands and eastern England. Frequent showers for Northern Ireland, not quite as heavy as Wednesday's showers, and for Scotland and northern England, mixture of cloudy spells, some bright spells, but also frequent downpours. Longer spells of rain for northern Scotland and a brisk breeze from the north. That's going to make it feel on the cool side overnight, wherever you are, but especially for northern parts of the UK, under any clear skies, temperatures will fall into the low single figures in places, perhaps even a touch of grass frost in sheltered parts of Scotland. And in the south, 13, 14 Celsius, but certainly a fresher feel as we start off Friday compared with so many mornings recently. There'll be further showers through the day on Wednesday, but they'll be more focused towards Northern Ireland, Wales and the southwest, again with some heavy downpours here. A few showers trundling down the eastern coast of the UK. In between, mostly dry, a lot of cloud and certainly feeling much cooler than recent weather.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M27 westbound is closed between junctions 7 and 5 near Southampton Airport. The M5 southbound is closed between junctions 22 and 23 near Bridgewater South. The M25 clockwise is closed between junctions 2 and 3 in Darenth. The M40 southbound is closed between junctions 10 and 9 in Bicester. In Scotland, the M90 southbound has queuing and lane restrictions between junctions 1C and 1B near Admiralty and Ferrytoll. And on the trains, Greater Anglia services are facing major disruption between Shenfield and Southend Victoria. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Well, let's now speak to Reform UK's spokesperson on education skills and equalities, Suella Braverman. Suella, good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for speaking to us. Could we ask you about this extraordinary development about these pamphlets effectively telling people not to rape children under 16 and to get a woman's consent? This is an acknowledgement, isn't it, of what you've been warning about and have been shouted down for warning about for years.
Yeah, this is nothing short of an admission of defeat. And it's like the government's raising the white flag to illegal immigration, basically. It's saying we can't stop you coming into our country, we can't stop the invasion, so we're going to take you in and try in vain to tell you how we live our lives in Britain. And this is the most basic of British values, that we treat women with respect, that rape is illegal, and yet the government feels that they have to invest money and take the effort to educate some of these people who really shouldn't be here in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard from the Prime Minister himself and also Lucy Powell in the Cabinet, and their suggestion is, well, you know, we're putting forward what the rule of law is. Surely that's a good thing in terms of education.
I think anyone who wants to live in this country legitimately should know that it is against the law to rape a woman. And if you don't know that, if you've got any doubts about that, then I would suggest you don't belong in this country.
In terms of, if you could put your former Attorney General hat on here, how does this going forward, as you say, it's an admission about a loss of control here and the risk that certain groups pose. Does that make the chances of communities like Wethersfield or Crowborough that bit stronger in terms of the legal argument that they have for saying, look, you know, the government, by their own admission, say that these individuals pose a risk. We shouldn't have them in our communities.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I think that it really does make the point that millions of British people have been making for years now when they've opposed asylum hotels in their communities, that they're really scared of groups of fighting age men being housed in small communities, sometimes disproportionately, and they're saying that they're really scared for the safety of their women and girls. And too often the government has dismissed that as hysterical race baiting or the far-right narrative. But actually, you're right, this pamphlet just reflects the very concerns that those people have. If the government is trying to remind these migrants how to treat women, it really is a damning indictment of how these men behave in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, surely this has got to bolster illegal challenges against the Home Office. But Suella, as a former Home Secretary yourself, you will have seen the news. Meghan and Harry are coming back to Britain, Prince Harry and Meghan. They're bringing their children who are going to be enrolled in a British school. Of course, there's been a huge amount of discussion over their security. I mean, how do you think the government will be involved in that going forward?
Well, listen, I like to talk about policies and politics. I don't really get into celebrity gossip. But, you know, Harry and Meghan are, they're no longer working members of the royal family. What they do is their own business, really. You know, if they want to sign their children up to British schools, that's a great thing. And I wish them, you know, it's their decision.
So it'll probably be a private security arrangement then, you imagine?
I mean, I think the Home Office has taken a decision not to give them taxpayer-funded security. That will have been based on a huge number of factors and cost involved, and they have to weigh those factors up. I mean, I personally think it's right that Harry and Meghan pay for their own security, but I think this decision, they've challenged that in the courts. I think it's a decision that needs to be taken on a case-by-case basis.
Can we just ask you about your announcement today, an important announcement, of course, about the need for apprenticeships, but prioritising, of course, British youngsters in terms of those on these schemes and maybe ensuring that those coming from overseas are not getting preferential treatment when it comes to student loans?
Yeah, today we're announcing an apprenticeships wage credit because we want to say that Reform UK is squarely on the side of those young people who want to start earning and learning a skill and getting out there into an apprenticeship. We want to say we're on the side of those businesses that want to invest in a young person and train them up on the job. We want to say we're on the side of those people who want to build our houses and be part of the renewal of our country. That's who Reform is for, and that's why I've been here today at this great business business meeting young apprentices. I'm in the kit myself. They got me painting and decorating to see what they do. It's actually very technical, very, very tricky, and we really need more of these young people to pick up a paintbrush, to get onto the building sites and to learn a trade. It's the only way we're going to give young people opportunities for growth and prosperity. It's the only way we're going to plug our labour market shortages. It's the only way we're going to grow our economy.
OK, well, thank you very much indeed for your time, Suella Braverman, the Reform UK spokesperson for education, skills and equality. It's great to have you on.
Useful skills. I mean, this may be the next thing the Home Office does, putting signs up at the entrance to towns, please don't rape our women and children.
I'm not sure she particularly cared about Harry and Meghan's security.
No, she just didn't seem to be too concerned.
More than 80,000 foreign criminals and illegal migrants have been removed from the UK in the past 2 years. That's the highest number for a decade.
The government said it had increased the number of removals by 52% since the election, including nearly 12,000 foreign national offenders and 24,500 rejected asylum seekers.
However, critics say that still isn't enough and that only 6,000 small boat migrants have been returned despite 80,000 coming in. But shall we speak to the Labour MP for Chatham and Aylesford, Tris Osborne MP. Tris, our viewers and listeners have been absolutely shocked by this pamphlet that's been handed out by the Home Office to asylum seekers, essentially having to spell out what rape is, what consent is, that it's illegal to have sex with someone under 16, and that actually a woman has to say yes first.
So just quickly on that. So people who travel abroad from this country, including myself in recent weeks, will be given advice and guidance about the nations that you travel to. And there are rules in different countries around the world that have different ages of consent. All of us will look at that advice and ensure that when we travel to these countries, we're aware of their cultures and traditions. So this guidance basically informs people when they arrive what our rules are. It includes a number of other areas, including their legal responsibilities. And more importantly, if people are caught and they give the defence that they were unaware of certain ages of consent and other aspects, the fact is that they were informed when they arrived. That is not a defence. So actually, it is about just giving people information. And you might say, well, of course, they should know about what these rules are. But of course, we provide our own citizens with guidance when they go abroad.
Tris, I'm sorry, it's not the same thing. As a woman, I'm sorry, but is this not an admission that we have people arriving in this country illegally who don't know that rape is wrong? How do you think women and girls feel up and down this country? How do you think women and girls feel in this country seeing this? It's no wonder people are so worried, is it, Tris?
That's absolutely not. So the large majority of people coming into this country are not rapists. So first of all. Second of all, providing information about the differences between countries. So we provide our own citizens guidance when they travel abroad.
You don't tell people if they travel to Afghanistan that child marriage is okay, because English people aren't going to go and marry a child, are they, just because they go to Afghanistan?
I'm simply saying providing information about the cultural norms of a country is what we provide our own citizens when they go abroad. And so when people arrive here, simply providing information to them about what is acceptable and what is not is completely fair. And that is what we're saying, and what we're doing is providing that information. And that document doesn't just include it does include information about sexual offences, but it includes a number of other aspects as well.
Yes, but it's that information on sexual offences telling men coming here that they can't rape people, that they need consent. We don't have to tell citizens of this country going abroad that they need the consent of a partner, otherwise that's rape. And that's the difference. There's an acknowledgement in these pamphlets that people coming from these countries and cultures, there is a risk inherent in men coming from those locations.
So the legal advice is, in other countries around the world, there are different ages of consent. So what we're saying is that people need to be aware when they come into this country of the ages of consent and our rules and laws. It's legal advice that they need to be aware of. It is not acknowledging, it is not saying that the large majority of people coming across are going to commit these offences. It is simply providing that information, just as we provide information when people go to other countries around their cultures and traditions as well.
So this isn't a response then, Tris, to the number of recent convictions where the offender has been found to be an asylum seeker or a small boat migrant?
So
it's not in response to that.
So the large majority of sexual offences are committed sadly, within the family units within this country. So now, is it true that some people have used as a defence in court, they were unaware of the legal elements of this country's laws? Absolutely, I've heard that said, and actually providing the guidance up front to all new arrivals about what are the laws and what are the rules means they can't use that defence. So I think it's a reasoned thing to say, to provide, as soon as they arrive, these are the rules of the country that you're entering. If you break them, you knowingly do so, and therefore you should get the full effects of the law if that occurs. Providing guidance to people when they arrive around the laws of the land is not unusual. We do it when people travel abroad, and when we welcome people to this country, we advise them to look at the different cultures and traditions of the countries they're coming into.
Okay,
so
Trish.
I just want to challenge very briefly, the large majority of people entering this country are not committing these criminal offences. So whilst I accept, we should provide that information, I don't want to scaremonger people to say that all of these people are coming in and doing these offences. And I think that is misinformation.
It's not good enough. Except the government is going to the trouble of warning people not to, which I think exposes a mindset within the Home Office that they do feel that there is definitely a risk from certain countries and cultures. Anyway, listen, we got caught up, understandably, in this pamphlet debate, but we just want to ask you very briefly on the issue of returns, deportations of illegal migrants. Just 6,000 of them were those that came across illegally on small boats. 80,000 came in. How is that any kind of a deterrent, Tris?
So what the numbers are today is that a 10-year high on returns, up 52% in the last decade. So we are seeing some success. That is coupled with a 42% reduction in boat crossings. But we must be more relentless on this. This has to be an absolute focus for us. And we need to change the appeals system in this country to make it so we can return people quicker. And that's part of our immigration bill that we're putting forward. And I will be supporting that wholeheartedly, because at the moment, we're too many people are stuck in the appeals process. And the Home Secretary is absolutely relentlessly focused on dealing with this. No one is saying this is a finished position.
Okay.
We're going to have to focus on this significantly.
We're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very much indeed for your time. Labour MP for Chatham and Elsford, Tris Osborne there.
Appreciate
We've got a few things to discuss there.
52% of very little is still very little, by the way.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up.
Labour's EU-style net zero tax could double fertiliser prices, hammer farmers and push up food bills. Why is Britain copying Brussels at the expense of our food security? That's next.
Good Afternoon Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I might shock you because I do understand why there are people that perhaps will need to take this because of medical issues. I get that, urgent medical issues. But let's face it, this is actually the greedy goods pill. That's what this is. Do I think it will make people lazy in society? Common sense, of course it will. We all want the magic pill. The concern, of course, with the pill, I'm sure the pharmacists will agree, is the potential side effects of these pills. We need to take personal responsibility in the UK, and at the moment, when it comes to health and many other things, we don't.
Thorin, I could see you shaking your head a little bit there. What do you think?
Well, look, it's not a magic pill. It's a medical intervention for a complex condition. I think calling people lazy is just an easy thing to do because it assumes that people who are struggling with weight just need more motivation.
The People's Channel. Good Afternoon Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I'm thrilled to say now I'm joined by another World War II veteran.
In my judgment, the Mosquito was a better aircraft because it's got 2 Spitfire engines.
And you flew it all over Europe. You told me that you had a particularly memorable flight near Berlin. What happened there?
A shell came up underneath, it lifted up the aircraft and it interfered for a brief period with the fuel supply. I didn't know. All I knew was I'd got the propellers were windmilling around and we hadn't any power. And eventually the power came on again, and I leaned across to Doug, my navigator. He was a Canadian, a wonderful bloke, And I said to him, you weren't frightened, were you, Doug? And he said, no, I wasn't frightened, I was bloody terrified.
GB News.
We're only here for like 12 hours. We're flying home at 11 o'clock tonight.
Oh, and mummy and daughter.
Yeah, and it only costs £70, so we thought, well, why not? Because it's cheaper than a supermarket shop.
Supermarket shop or spending the day in Benidorm with cheap booze.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it? It's a no-brainer.
And is there no chance you might just decide we're going to stay?
No, because my husband would kill me.
We did consider it because I said to my mum earlier on, we might just stay and miss the flight, but she's not up for it.
Has your husband actually visited Benidorm the Zone?
No, he hasn't. I've been here 27 times. That's my daughter's first time. She's a Benidorm virgin. But
well,
my husband's never been.
Not that he's told you anyway, let's put it like that.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. 12:52 is the time. Now, farmers are facing a doubling of fertiliser prices when a net zero border tax is introduced this January.
Yes, Labour wants to introduce a green levy on imports that would mirror measures brought in earlier this year by the European Union.
Well, arable and livestock farmer Colin Rayner joins us now. Colin, how will this affect you?
Oh, good afternoon. Again, another nail in the coffin of British agriculture. We used to have 2 fertiliser plants in the UK. They shut one down because it wasn't green enough. I think they're shutting the other one down soon. They are taxing us. Why don't they tax the rain as well and tax the sunshine? Do they want food from UK farmers? We produce the safest and best food in the world. Or do they want to import it from some third world country where they have no regulations whatsoever? I am utterly shocked that we had promises made by the last Labour Prime Minister and the new one that was going to look after farmers. Why are you taxing us to death? Why? I can't understand it. If you want good food,
Have you run the numbers, Colin? How much is this going to cost you?
Enough for us to leave the land empty. You know, we're about to plant this year's autumn crops. It was on a knife edge whether we plant this autumn crops. We'd be better off leaving the fields empty and go back to nature and packing growing wheat. You know, we've had an awful harvest, our worst harvest since 1976, and that's mirrored throughout the country, apart from those lucky farmers in Wales who had some rain. We can't carry on. Prices of tractors, price of machinery, price of fuel. When I first started farming, diesel was 10 pence a litre.
Yeah, it's just getting beyond the limit, isn't it? Colin, we're going to have to leave it there, but really appreciate you coming on and speaking so passionately. Colin Rayner there, arable and livestock farmer.
Thank you, Colin. Speaking in June, Dame Angela Ego, who was then the farming minister and is now the environment secretary, said it's expected that initial liabilities arising from CBAM will be modest, and the government does not expect CBAM to put UK farmers at significant competitive disadvantage.
Right, well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. Do give your comments, really, to us on this pamphlet. It's absolutely shocking.
See you at the top of the hour.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Plenty of showers around today for many parts of the UK, but especially for England and Wales, where there'll be thunderstorms and it will feel much cooler compared with summer so far. Marked change in weather, high pressure now out to the west of the UK, low pressure to the east, and that's bringing this cool northerly airflow and instability, causing a lot of shower development into the afternoon. The most lively downpours with hail and thunder moving through northern England into the Midlands and parts of Wales by the afternoon, merging to give longer spells of rain. In between there will be some bright spells, especially in the far south, although temperatures at 22, 23 Celsius mean that it's actually below average for a change further north. Even cooler for Scotland, northern England. Still some showers, not as many or as lively as recent days. So we end the afternoon and go into the evening with further showers, but they'll be easing across the southwest while continuing through much of Wales, the Midlands and eastern England. Frequent showers for Northern Ireland, not quite as heavy as Wednesday's showers, and for Scotland and Northern England, mixture of cloudy spells, some bright spells, but also frequent downpours. Longer spells of rain for northern Scotland and a brisk breeze from the north. That's going to make it feel on the cool side overnight wherever you are, but especially for northern parts of the UK, under any clear skies, temperatures will fall into the low single figures in places, perhaps even a touch of grass frost in sheltered parts of Scotland. And in the south, 13, 14 Celsius, but certainly a fresher feel as we start off Friday compared with so many mornings recently. There'll be further showers through the day on Wednesday, but they'll be more focused towards Northern Ireland, Wales and the southwest, again with some heavy downpours here. A few showers trundling down the eastern coast of the UK. In between, mostly dry, a lot of cloud and certainly feeling much cooler than recent weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner. First of all, we want to give you £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Thursday, the 20th of August. I'm Mark White.
And I'm Emily Carver.
Had we not got out when we did,
our security was being pulled. Everyone in the world knew where we were.
I said, we need to get out of here.
Well, there you go. Harry and Meghan have had a change of heart and they're returning to Britain. Yes, the Sussexes are preparing to move back within weeks. Archie and Lilibet are enrolled at a British school. Rumours that they're going to live in the Cotswolds. But could their dramatic return reopen the door to royal life?
Well, a huge U-turn from the Sussexes today. Lots of unanswered questions, particularly around security. The Prime Minister has washed his hands of them and says he's not being drawn into that question.
Breaking news this hour, 6 armed men have seized a Tanzanian tanker off Yemen and diverted it towards Somalia. With new fears, the Iran war is creating a dangerous new security vacuum at sea.
Asylum seekers are being handed Home Office booklets explaining what rape is, that sex with children is illegal, and that women are considered equal to men. If ministers believe these warnings are necessary, should those migrants be allowed into Britain at all?
And more than 80,000 immigration offenders have been removed under Labour, but just 6,000 were small boat migrants. Now ministers are considering a Rwanda-style crackdown involving overseas return hubs.
A Home Office U-turn means the migrant site in Wethersfield will now stay open until 2029. It was supposed to close next spring.
Well, here in Braintree, we've been hearing concerns from locals about the expansion of the nearby accommodation site for asylum seekers in Wethersfield. We'll be hearing from residents very shortly about the profound impact it's had on the community here in Essex.
Well, the former Archbishop of Canterbury has accused Nigel Farage of using Britain's Christian identity to channel anti-Muslim feeling. Is defending our Christian heritage really divisive, or is Rowan Williams badly out of touch?
Elsewhere, McLaren and Ferrari have been torched in a suspected petrol bomb attack outside a packed Pakistani wedding venue in Birmingham. A young child was just metres away. Police are hunting 3 men who fled the scene. So the Labour MP we just had on, Tris Osborne, essentially comparing this...
Just been giving Emily her smelling salts.
Pamphlet with the sort of travel guidance you receive when you pop over to another country. It's not the same thing, is it, Mark?
No, it's not. It's completely not the same thing. And of course, I think what was so infuriating for you, he was trying to argue that, you know, we give the same kind of advice to those that are travelling overseas, advice on what the age of consent is. But we certainly don't give advice on having to seek the consent of your sexual partner before indulging in any kind of activity. Otherwise, that might be deemed to be rape. And we don't also hand out those pamphlets on arrival into this country to everyone, just people from certain countries.
Yeah, Jan says, are we now handing out this leaflet to people coming here illegally then? According to the Labour MP, it's just guidance, same as we get when we go to other countries. I mean, it's just absurd. Also, if I travel to Afghanistan, do I then receive, you know, advice suggesting that I could marry a child?
Yes, well, clearly, that is absurd, and of course you wouldn't. And that's why this whole debate with people trying effectively to gaslight the public and argue that this is perfectly normal advice, it should be just handed out, and it's just out of an abundance of caution. It is just blatant nonsense.
Imagine receiving that at border control at Heathrow.
It's clear by doing this that the government is acknowledging that there are individuals, men from certain countries and cultures, who are a risk group. And going forward, that has all kinds of connotations for those that are trying to defend their communities from migrant hotels or migrant camps or HMOs that say that this is a danger. They perhaps, I think, will be strengthened in any legal proceedings they want to take before the courts.
It's worth saying, no one is saying that every single person coming over here on a boat is going to rape someone or not know what consent is. The idea here is that it's a risk group, and the government are acknowledging that. Anyway, gbnews.com/you'll say, get your thoughts in, but let's get the headlines with Tatiana.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. The top stories. Prime Minister Andy Burnham says the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's planned return to Britain is a private matter when asked by reporters whether the government would pay for their security. Harry and Meghan are set to return to the UK 6 years after leaving for America. They're expected to move back at the end of August for their children, Archie and Lilibet, to attend British schools this September. It's understood the King was only made aware of the move on Sunday, which His Majesty is said to be pleased about.
Overnight, Meghan and Harry moving back to the UK from California. Is the government going to establish their security and pay for it?
Well, this is a private matter. It's a matter for Harry and for Meghan, and we wish them well in the move.
In other news, the GCSE overall pass rate has fallen slightly for the 5th year in a row, but top grades have edged up across England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Meanwhile, girls have once again achieved better GCSE results than boys, but the gap between the genders is getting smaller. The results published this morning show 73.7% of females and 67.8% of males achieved grade 4 or C or above in their exams this year. Education Secretary Lucy Powell spoke this morning.
All students will, continue to study maths and English where they haven't achieved that good grade in GCSE maths and English. They'll continue to study that until they're 19. But what we need to do is create more stepping stones, more pathways, so that young people aren't facing these huge barriers of entry to moving on to doing an apprenticeship, for example, putting and keeping children on this treadmill. This cycle of constant resits, which only one in five students are actually passing or gaining the grade 4 when they're resitting them. It's a shocking figure.
The Prime Minister has defended new government advice that will tell asylum seekers that rape and domestic abuse are serious crimes. The Home Office released a 7-page booklet telling asylum seekers not to rape women. It follows a rise in migrant convictions linked to sex attacks. Official government guidance informs arrivals it's illegal to hit and control women, and they cannot sleep with anyone underage or asleep. Shadow Secretary of State for Transport Richard Holden spoke to GB News.
Got to detain and deport within a week. That's why Conservative policy under Kemi Badenoch is to pull out of the European Convention on Human Rights, because the truth is that without doing that we cannot get people out of our country. This new policy the government have also been talking about moving asylum seekers around to different parts of the country. I'm old enough to remember when Robert Jenrick was Immigration Minister, talking about how he was doing so well at setting up all these new asylum hotels around the country to ensure that people were being dispersed. We don't want to see people dispersed. We want to see people detained and deported. That's what has to happen, and I think that's exactly what we want to see now.
United Kingdom maritime trade operations have received confirmation that a tanker has been boarded by 6 armed persons who are now in control of the vessel and redirecting it to Somalia. It came after a tanker broadcast a distress call that they'd been approached by an unauthorised vessel whilst travelling west in the Gulf of Aden. Elsewhere, the boss of Travelodge has quit amid a backlash over the chain's handling of a sexual assault at one of its hotels. Jo Boydell had been criticised for her response to the guest safety row that followed the attack in Berkshire in 2022, in which a man had been given a key card to his victim's room. Kieran Smith, who had claimed to be her boyfriend, was jailed in February for 7.5 years. The then Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer urged Ms Boydell, who had run the chain since May 2022, to seriously engage with the government on the safety issue after she cancelled a meeting with MPs. And a British motorbike racer has become the second to die during qualifying for the Manx Grand Prix this week. 37-year-old Sam Norton, who is from the island in the Irish Sea, was killed on Wednesday during his second year at the Isle of Man event. The father of 4 was also a regular competitor at a number of other road racing events since he began racing in 2020. On Tuesday, Swiss rider 29-year-old Mauro Puncini died during another qualifying event at the Manx Grand Prix. Those are your latest headlines. More at 1:30.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Welcome back. 10 minutes past 1 now. The Prime Minister says security arrangements for Prince Harry and Meghan are a private matter, as he wished the couple well ahead of their move back to Britain.
Interesting. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are expected to arrive with their two children later this month. Archie and Lilibet are going to be starting school here in Britain in September.
But what do the great British public think about the move?
They trashed the whole country numerous times, betrayed their family, betrayed his king, his father, went out to America, and now they're bored and now they want to come back.
He's just truly British at the end of the day, and he just misses home. But I don't know, it's very odd. It's all been a complete surprise to us, hasn't it? And it doesn't fill me with joy, doesn't fill me with sadness. I'm fairly neutral about it.
Surprised, but on the other hand, I can kind of see for him, probably feels a bit cast aside. So he's come back, and I guess the guy lost his mother, so cut him a break sort of thing.
I love a good vox pop, seeing what people out there think. That gentleman who said, don't feel sad, don't feel joy, a bit neutral. Cameron Walker's here, our royal correspondent. Well, it's keeping you busy, Cameron, at least, so perhaps you can't be neutral in that respect.
Yes.
I'm actually quite happy that they're coming back to Britain. I think it's a vote of confidence in our nation. You know, that's about it.
Is that all you think about it? Yes.
Well, I don't suppose he's going to be best buds with his brother. I don't suppose that he's going to have a fantastic relationship with his father going forward.
No.
But, you know.
Well, I think he is going to try and have a good relationship with his father, but I think you're right, Emily. I don't think there's going to be much of a relationship with Prince William, at least in the early days. But actually, I think the biggest issue could potentially be with the government's response to all of this. I do take umbrage slightly with what Andy Burnham was saying, which is that the security of Harry and Meghan is a private matter. I'm afraid it's not, because if taxpayers are suddenly going to have to foot the bill for the security of two non-working royals, then I think the public deserve to know about that.
But is he saying they're not, that we're not going to have to?
Well, we don't know the answer. That would be true. At the very least, there's going to be liaison and planning to ensure that they're looked after. If they are going to any kind of public event, there's got to be some police involvement as well.
Well, exactly. So at the moment, when Harry comes across for his charity engagements, they get a police liaison telephone number, which is a very long phone number. Clearly, if someone was running at him with a knife, it's easier to call 999. And sometimes there's like crowd control police, but there's no close protection officers like the King gets, Prince and Princess of Wales, the Prime Minister, who are armed, who have access to that MI5 intelligence. That costs a fortune, millions of pounds a year, in order to protect the royal family and senior government ministers in this country and a smattering of others. So that money would be added to if Harry has got his wish and he's got the level of protection he and Meghan used to have when they were working members of the royal family. Now, the other option is the security has not been reinstated. There is no extra cost to the British taxpayers, and Harry has decided that what he's been complaining about and suing His Majesty's government within His Majesty's courtroom, putting the King in a very difficult constitutional situation over the last few years, has not been worth the money. And the problem is we don't know the answer to that question. So it would actually be very helpful if a minister would come out and say, either it's being reinstated and the taxpayers therefore are going to have to be paying for it, and then we can have that debate, or it's not being reinstated and Harry and Meghan are just going to take it.
Just on that point, they are going to have to be paying for it, though, even if it's not as expensive as a close protection detail. Dozens, potentially, of uniformed officers for crowd control is also a pretty penny any time they appear in public.
I mean, it's important to point out that Harry did offer to pay for his own police protection when he's in the UK, but a judge ruled, no, you can't, because that sets a really dangerous precedent that any rich person who comes to the UK can essentially hire the Metropolitan Police for their own personal use. The police are stretched enough as it is. They've got a lot of priorities anyway. That's not really the best use of the police force. So it's going to be really tricky to see how this one plays out in public. Because, of course, the other point to make is they're not going to be staying in a royal residence. I understand they've acquired a property, renting, we think, in the first instance, but it's not a royal residence. Therefore, that's going to need around-the-clock protection. Let's see who's going to be paying for that.
Very interesting.
Thank you, Cameron.
I just saw a Glynis has got in touch. He said it's not a vote of confidence in Britain, Emily. They might just be skint. But Glynis, we've heard that they're keeping their Montecito mansion and their Portugal home too. So how skint can they be?
Maybe they're going to Airbnb it.
Maybe. That's a very good point, actually. They might do.
Added income.
We're now joined by entertainment and royal reporter Bronte Coy. What do you think to this point? Andy Burnham being asked, thank you for joining us. To this point, Andy Burnham being asked about the security arrangements. Of course, there's been a big hoo-ha, a lot of back and forth over this issue. Andy Burnham saying it's a private matter, but it's not really if the taxpayer's going to have to cough up at least, at some occasion.
Well, that's it. This is an absolutely stunning development with the Sussexes, the fact that they will be moving here for what I've been told is an indefinite period at this point. And of course, security is the first thing, really, that people are asking, because that has been the sticking point for so many years, so publicly. Harry has been battling for that, to close protection to be reinstated. And he has said in the past very openly he feels his life is at stake when he's here in England without it. He feels his family's not going to be safe here. And now all of a sudden they're moving here. And exactly as Cam pointed out, we don't have any update on what that security looks like. And I think people will continue to put pressure on those in charge and ask this question, because it does, of course, relate to taxpayers, because it does seem as though possibly something's changed, either with Harry's mindset after all these years or with their security detail.
Yeah, I mean, the other issue, security aside, is just the effect that this is going to have on the King. This is a man who's had his health battles. He continues with those health battles. The stress levels of having Meghan back in town, let's put, the finger on it there, Meghan back in town, is going to really be quite significant, isn't it?
Well, it can't be argued that certainly when they were here last month, I think there was a lot of stress for every single person involved. We saw it was quite a circus in those first few days, and that was just for the visit. Hopefully they are in better communication across the board, where issues of communications will be ironed out before they get here for a more permanent stay. But, what I've been told and my understanding of it is that the King is quite pleased with the news to have his son in the country. I think a lot of people would understand that. Any parent would understand that. And to have the grandchildren also very significantly nearby, because it had been years since he'd seen Archie and Lilibet, and all of a sudden they'll be really right around the corner, so to speak. So I think that it's probably one where he would be wary. It has been a very taxing few years for the King. Obviously, on all sides there have been issues with trust, but at its core, I'm told Harry and the King do have a pretty good relationship. They speak relatively frequently on the phone, and the King is quite soft-hearted towards Harry, and so therefore would be happy that he will be here.
Any insight into how their relationship's going in general? Because there have been sort of reports in the press, don't know if they're verified or whatever, just about how they've been spending quite a bit of time away from each other, doing separate things. They've got different, interests and the like. I mean, are they this solid unit?
You mean Harry and Meghan, I assume, not the King and Harry.
Harry and Meghan, yeah.
Yes, well, this is the question, and do you know what? This is probably the question I get asked by people the most, and the reason is because their whole story is about their love. This is what they've actually, they've packaged it and actually sold it commercially. Obviously, the Harry and Meghan Netflix series was really pegged off that, but also, with all the strain they've been under, and as you say, these reports, it's hard to know exactly where the truth lies. What I'm told when I ask my sources close to the couple, and I do ask them quite regularly, I'm told that they're very in love and that they're very lovey-dovey. Certainly, I was actually in Australia. I know that we're looking at the pictures of this now. I was in Australia with them for those 5 days. And what I saw, and look, again, this isn't behind closed doors. Obviously, I wasn't in their room with them. But, what I saw out there in their engagements, they were smiling at each other and holding hands at every opportunity. So what I can see, look, if it's a performance, it's a very good one. They do appear to be very in love at the moment. And that's all I've ever heard. But look, I'm sure like any marriage, it has its ups and downs, and particularly when their issues are playing out under so much global scrutiny.
Yes, Bronte Coy, thank you very much indeed. Entertainment and Royal Reporter, appreciate your time. They like us holding hands all the time.
Oh, indeed. I can absolutely buy that the King would be delighted to have his son back and grandchildren back. Meghan, meh.
Well, she has been difficult.
Just ever so slightly.
To put it, Anyway, in other news, breaking this afternoon, United Kingdom maritime trade operations have received confirmation that a tanker has been boarded by 6 armed persons who are now in control of the vessel and redirecting it to Somalia.
Well, it came after a tanker broadcast a distress call that they'd been approached by an unauthorised vessel whilst travelling west in the Gulf of Aden.
Well, joining us now is national reporter Charlie Peters. Charlie, what can you tell us about this then?
We've got some more details now since this first emerged an hour ago, and this is the tanker Cebu 1. It is an Eritrean flagged tanker east of Mukalla in Yemen. That's 136 nautical miles east of that position. You referred to the distress signal they put out. We also can now confirm what that was. On the AIS data, they wrote on the system, "Pirate on board, help," before changing course. A very direct message there towards anyone.
Dramatic message.
Yes,
Very.
Clearly a rushed message to put out, and the UK MTO, a Royal Navy run organisation, picked up on that straight away and put out that warning. The MTO statement, they said that there was a distress call also on a very high frequency radio at the same time after they were approached by that vessel. They say that they were carrying 6 armed persons, which is official speak for pirates, almost certainly armed pirates from Somalia, and they are now in control of the vessel, which is redirecting to Somalia, and they said the authorities are investigating. Now, this comes on the back of quite a trend of a resurgence in Somali pirate activity around the Gulf of Aden and around the Red Sea. Just to bring ourselves into the wider picture, over the last 4 or 5 months or so, since the Iran war started, we have seen tremendous maritime security operations towards the Strait of Hormuz, but this is an equally critical waterway around the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the Red Sea. In that area, it's been vital for redirecting oil and gas products via tankers. Rather than having to go all the way around South Africa, the Cape of Good Hope, they've instead gone up the Red Sea, passing Jordan, Israel as well at the tip, through Egypt, and then up the Suez Canal into the Eastern Mediterranean. Now, this update, the surge that we've seen in Somali pirate activity. We've seen another boarded and seized on August the 17th. That was 8 armed men, and another a month ago, which was also taken towards Somalia's Puntland region. Why this is so important to those watching and listening at home. Well, just a day ago, we saw the headline UK inflation bills rising, the percentage rising to 2.9% amid the Iran war, driving up energy bills. There's no doubt that the 13% increase on the cap on energy bills at the start of July to try and manage this situation has led to that surge. If the maritime security situation disintegrates around the Red Sea, if ships cannot have the confidence to go through the Suez Canal instead, we could almost certainly see energy prices rising even further. Are the Iranians, this is the big question we'll leave you with, are the Iranians supporting those Somali pirates and the Yemeni Houthis to lead to this additional pressure on the Western Alliance?
I think almost certainly yes, Charlie.
Well, Charlie, thank you very much indeed for bringing us that very worrying news. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up.
Yes, the former Archbishop of Canterbury has accused Nigel Farage of using Britain's Christian identity to channel anti-Muslim feeling.
But after the break, asylum seekers are being handed Home Office booklets explaining what rape is. All of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
OK, well, just a warning for you. There are some graphic details in this next story. The Home Office are giving illegal migrants a booklet that looks a bit like this on your screen on how not to rape women and children.
Yeah, the booklet says laws and customs here may be different from your home country. It says sex with someone under the age of 16 is a serious crime in the UK. Even if they say yes, it's still illegal. You could go to prison, it says, lose your support and accommodation, and it will affect your asylum claim.
Well, there you go. We're joined by the lawyer, James Tunbridge, on the show now. James, thank you very much indeed. We were thinking about potential legal implications of the Home Office issuing this to asylum seekers, because it is it not, an admittance from the government that some of these people coming over are a risk group when it comes to things like rape, not knowing about consent, not knowing the rules around, you know, whether you can have sex with a child and so on and so forth. So potentially those who are campaigning against a local migration site or have been raped themselves even could have cause to sue the government, or it would strengthen their argument. What would you think about that?
Well, I wouldn't go quite so far as to say that just on this pamphlet they can sue the government. But I think this pamphlet tells us two things, and the first of which you just covered, which is that it's clearly necessary to tell the people arriving in the UK that these are our laws, because they're clearly not realising and understanding what we think of as acceptable. And so that's quite a damning admission. And I'm sure that that would play into any arguments, any campaigning, any cases. But it on its own, it's not going to be enough to make a claim of some sort. But the second thing is, you know, I'm presuming that the reason they may have done this is to actually ensure that people can't say, oh, well, I didn't know what the law was.
Yes, no, I think because you're quite right, James, that has been used in a number of court cases where they said they are ignorant of the law. But I'm just wondering on the issue of communities like Wethersfield, where people are very opposed to former military bases being used as camps, other communities where they don't want HMOs, hotels before that, whether they would have a strengthened case now in going to the likes of the High Court and arguing that clearly if the government feels that it needs to issue pamphlets advising people not to offend in this way, that they're acknowledging that putting these people into my community is a risk.
Well, in essence, yes. As lawyers, we talk about sort of praying in aid. It simply means that, you know, these are things that you rely on to support your argument. It's not a slam dunk. It's not on its own sufficient. But without question, it shows that there's an issue, that people that are being housed are committing crimes. They're committing crimes and presumably saying that they don't understand our laws. And so therefore, the government is having to spend time and money and resources, our taxes, on educating them. I quite understand. People think that's mad. But, you know, it would help anyone who's campaigned to say, well, look, you must recognise there's a problem. You wouldn't be doing this pamphlet if there wasn't a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it was very controversial at the time, the Bell Hotel in Essex. One of the arguments by the Home Office was that fulfilling their obligations to accommodate the asylum seekers under human rights law superseded, you know, the local planning enforcement goals. So essentially the rights of those moving into the area as asylum seekers were more important than British people's rights who lived locally. Could that sort of argument be usurped by something like this, using this as sort of evidence?
Well, the problem with you inviting a lawyer on is you're sort of conflating two slightly different things there. So
yes.
The first part is, yeah, there was a tension between planning law and human rights law. And that does occasionally happen in different areas of law, and then judges have to decide which law trumps the other law where they're not compatible. But that's slightly different to, you know, the second point you were making about the rights of the people to protest or be concerned about their area. They are slightly separate. The legal issue is purely that you might have one set of laws that say you can't turn a hotel into an asylum centre, and a different law that says we've got to accommodate them, and then this gets balanced out, which is what happened in that case that related to the Bell Hotel. There was a court case, the judge looked at it, and the judge did his balancing act. You might not like what the judge did, but he balanced in favour of we've got to accommodate people. But I think most fundamentally is that people will be shocked by the need of this pamphlet. It actually confirms what they fear. And the average person is not going to be thinking like I am. They're not going to be thinking like a lawyer and compartmentalising. They're going to say, clearly, you've admitted there's an issue. What are you going to do about the fundamental problem?
And so just accusing people who voice those concerns in communities like Crowborough or Wethersfield and saying they're jumping on a far-right bandwagon, it doesn't seem that the government and its supporters can use that as an argument going forward now. But listen, James, thank you so much. We really appreciate your expert knowledge on this. It was really interesting to hear your points.
Yes, I thought I'd throw a few things at him, see what he comes up with. Let's head to our GBNews reporter Isabel Fekalak, who is in Wethersfield, where a local asylum centre was meant to close in 2027, but is now staying open until 2029. Isabel, what are people telling you there?
Well, good afternoon, Mark and Emily. I'm here in Braintree, just a short distance from the site in Wethersfield that is used to house asylum seekers. Now, of course, the Home Office originally said that would close in 2027. They've now expanded it until 2029, possibly, and also the capacity has gone up from 800 to a potential 1,245, so increased by 55%. And locals here are extremely concerned about that. There are businesses that I have spoken to this morning who have said that footfall in the town centre on the days where these asylum seekers come in on buses goes down extremely because people are afraid to come into the town here, and it's affecting their businesses. Of course, there's also extreme concerns amongst particularly women and children over their public safety. Now, I spoke to a very brave lady, Marie Heath, who is a resident here in Braintree, but she has a very personal reason where her fears stem from. Take a listen to what she had to say.
My son Lee was murdered 15 years ago in Angela Merkel's Germany when she let all the immigrants in, and 4 immigrants working illegally in Germany killed my son. We had to attend 2 court cases in Germany. Absolutely destroyed my family, so it's very relevant to me now because of my grandchildren growing up in this environment. Why the government think it's okay to let all these undocumented men into in our community, I don't know.
My goodness.
Well, here in Braintree, you can see behind me groups of residents gathering to talk about these concerns, discuss their concerns, providing support for people like Marie. Of course, the Home Office say that the use of these military sites to house asylum seekers is in part of the wider efforts to crack down on asylum hotels to save the taxpayer some money. Here, there's concerns over lack of consultation with the community, and certainly they feel as if their voices haven't been heard.
Oh, thank you, Isabel.
So shocking to hear Marie's story there. Glad you spoke to her. Please pass on our love to Marie. That's just horrific.
Well, yeah.
And it shows you the consequences, of course, of what Angela Merkel did when she said to those in Syria at the time of the civil war there, come to Germany, the borders are open, you'll be accepted and granted asylum.
Then didn't she say a year ago, multiculti is tot, which is multiculturalism is dead?
Yeah.
I mean, the irony.
Funny that.
Anyway, lots more coming up on today's show. The former Archbishop of Canterbury has accused Nigel Farage of using Britain's Christian identity to channel anti-Muslim feeling. What's he getting out there? All of that and more to come. Your GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Plenty of showers around today for many parts of the UK, but especially for England and Wales, where there'll be thunderstorms and it will feel much cooler compared with summer so far. Marked change in weather, high pressure now out to the west of the UK, low pressure to the east, and that's bringing this cool northerly airflow and instability, causing a lot of shower development into the afternoon. The most lively downpours with hail and thunder moving through northern England into the Midlands and parts of Wales by the afternoon, merging to give longer spells of rain. In between there will be some bright spells, especially in the far south, although temperatures at 22, 23 Celsius mean that it's actually below average for a change further north. Even cooler for Scotland, northern England. Still some showers, not as many or as lively as recent days. So we end the afternoon and go into the evening with further showers, but they'll be easing across the southwest while continuing through much of Wales, the Midlands and eastern England. Frequent showers for Northern Ireland, not quite as heavy as Wednesday's showers, and for Scotland and northern England, a mixture of cloudy spells, some bright spells, but also frequent downpours. Longer spells of rain for northern Scotland and a brisk breeze from the north. That's going to make it feel on the cool side overnight, wherever you are, but especially for northern parts of the UK, under any clear skies, temperatures will fall into the low single figures in places, perhaps even a touch of grass frost in sheltered parts of Scotland. And in the south, 13, 14 Celsius, but certainly a fresher feel as we start off Friday compared with so many mornings recently. There'll be further showers through the day on Wednesday, but they'll be more focused towards Northern Ireland, Wales and the southwest, again with some heavy downpours here. A few showers trundling down the eastern coast of the UK. In between, mostly dry, a lot of cloud, and certainly feeling much cooler than recent weather.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M27 westbound is closed between junctions 10 and 9 in Whiteley. The M5 is closed between junctions 14 and 13 in Stroud. The M25 anti-clockwise is closed between junctions 22 and 21A in Chertsey. The M1 is closed between junctions 9 and 11A in Luton. The M40 southbound is closed between junctions 10 and 9 in Bicester. In Scotland, the M8 westbound has queuing and lane restrictions between junctions 17E and 16 near Craighall. And on the trains, Grand Central and Great Northern services are facing major disruption between London and Stevenage. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Well, welcome back to Good Afternoon Britain. Now, the former Archbishop of Canterbury has accused Nigel Farage of using Britain's Christian identity to channel anti-Muslim feeling at Easter
this year. The reform UK leader said the Christian values on which Britain was built were something to be proud of.
Now, Rowan Williams, who served as Archbishop of Canterbury for a decade, has accused Mr Farage and others of invoking Christianity as a political weapon.
Well, we're joined now by the vicar at Christ Church New Malden, Stephen Kurt. Stephen, thank you very much for coming into the studio to speak to us. What do you think Rowan Williams is getting at here?
I think he was doing an interview to the New Humanist magazine, so I think there was an element of playing to that audience. But I think he is, to my mind, getting far too close to being dismissive about anyone expressing concerns about immigration or the growth of radical Islam. And my concern is that when a Christian minister comes over as dismissive about someone's concerns, I think it is never helpful at all. And I think from his point of view, he was probably concerned about the ugliest forms of right-wing nationalism, and probably in his mind was wanting to show that he was, opposed to that. But I think it was quite a dismissive set of statements that he made. Yeah, know your flock. And, many people in the wider community are very concerned about issues around elements of the Muslim faith. And, it does feel as though he's been very dismissive of the wider concerns, not just of Nigel Farage. Yeah, I think whenever a Christian minister seeks to engage with political issues, I think what they should try and do is sympathetically engage with where the best case is coming from in what's being said. And there is a room for critique, of course there is. But I think being dismissive doesn't really get us anywhere. And when he made statements like, I doubt Nigel Farage lies awake at night thinking about theological questions or things like that, that's a dangerous game to play, because what we're doing is imputing motive at that point. And we're saying, well, they may be saying this, but really... and it's guilty of just the sort of demonisation, I think, that the worst sides of the opposition are sometimes doing, where we're not really listening to concerns.
Now, I would have thought, the job of Archbishop of Canterbury and as a former Archbishop of Canterbury, you should work to uphold the Christian nature of this country. I would have thought that's something you would want to do in that job. Now, previously, this was a number of years ago, back in 2008, but it made headlines at the time. He talked about how Sharia courts are sort of an inevitability in this country, and that, Muslims who are living in this country should be allowed to sort of sort out some issues via Sharia, the Sharia way of doing things rather than necessarily our system. Yeah.
Well, I think... what he is seeking to do, Rowan Williams, both when he said that and in some of his more recent comments, is I think he's trying to present Christianity as compassionate and not seeking to be exclusive and not seeking to be antagonistic to Islam. And where all of that's coming from is something that I want to sort of support. I think the danger is that it's a rather sort of singular message. And I think with the engagement with any of these issues, what we've got to show is that we understand where sort of both sides of the spectrum are coming from, and we can comment sort of appropriately critically to both sides. It is vital that Christianity is something that isn't used as a weapon against other people. That is absolutely crucial. But at the same time, we've got to make sure that we genuinely are engaging with what people are concerned about. And once that engagement takes place, quite often people are prepared to listen to an element of challenge. Challenge from Christianity is absolutely vital. It's really important that Christians don't just underwrite any political agenda, but to engage with it and then to comment appropriately, critically, gets us much further, I think.
So just briefly, love thy neighbour is absolutely crucial within Christianity, but we shouldn't be afraid to criticise where appropriate as well.
Yes, because working out what love means in practice, as all of us know, those of us who are parents, know that loving a child is much more complex than just giving in to everything they want, isn't it?
Quite.
When you genuinely love a child or anyone you care for, there are difficult decisions that need to be made that balance compassion and understanding with sometimes putting in boundaries that are needed.
And honesty is an important need to note in Christianity. Stephen Kurt, thank you very much indeed. The vicar at Christ Church in Walden. Let us know your thoughts on that intervention from the former Archbishop.
Now it's time for the Great British Giveaway. Yes, your chance to win £60,000. And don't forget the gold bar that keeps going up in price. Here's all your details.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner and join our exclusive list of giveaway champions. First of all, we want to give you a ton of tax-free cash. £60,000 in tax-free cash that you could use however you like. Treat your family, treat your friends, or treat yourself to a luxury 5-star holiday somewhere like here, all is Santi by Domes Resorts. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on Friday.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, this is GB News. Good afternoon, Britain. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yeah, manhunt is now underway after a McLaren and a Ferrari was torched, in a suspected petrol bomb attack outside a Pakistani wedding venue up in Birmingham. What's going on there?
Well, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here is your forecast for some of our top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there. We continue to see heavy rain across parts of the Alps over the next 24 hours. Plenty of hot sunshine across Greece. Sunshine continues across parts of Spain and Portugal. 1 or 2 showers there on Friday across Madeira, but plenty of blue skies across Portugal into Spain. Just 1 or 2 showers possible, but that heavy rain continues across parts of the Dolomites and the Alps, but plenty of sunshine in Greece. Athens there, 35 Celsius. And for most it remains sunny through the weekend and into the next week too.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Joining us now is Head of Advocacy at Big Brother Watch, Jack Colson. Jack, interested to know your view on this. Why shouldn't I be able to wear my Meta glasses around?
Well, certainly there are times and places where Meta glasses might be of use, particularly for those with visual impairments. The technology really could be a breakthrough, but we see these as the tip of an iceberg. Meta's glasses have already been potentially linked to facial recognition technology, which really would be a stalker's charter. And we are operating in an environment where perpetrators of harassment feel safe to use this technology when really it's the public who ought to feel safe. So the government ultimately are going to have to explore restrictions on this kind of technology, and we're seeing civil society push back.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
I do think it's worrying that young people, I think they are more risk averse. Yes. I think they are scared of getting into personal space. I think you're right, there are issues about consent and everything else. But how sad that people say that it's been a year since they've been kissed. What is life for if you're not having a little kiss every now and again?
Yeah, the death of the kiss.
Apparently, much younger people now haven't had a good snog in over 12 months on average, the people that have been interviewed. But I would hazard a guess that that's because people are frightened. Men don't know when they can approach women anymore. anymore. Men can think 1 or 2 steps ahead on the same board, whereas a woman will think about 18 steps. So
I think you're overthinking
If a man takes you to Paris for the weekend, a woman will come back disappointed that they haven't proposed to them, whereas a man thinks they've done a really great thing.
Why do men always think you're going to be proposed to in Paris? That you expect that. We don't expect that. Just take us to Paris.
The People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I'm thrilled to say now I'm joined by another World War II veteran.
In my judgment, the Mosquito was a better aircraft because it's got 2 Spitfire engines.
And you flew it all over Europe. You told me that you had a particularly memorable flight near Berlin. What happened there?
A shell came up underneath, it lifted up the aircraft and it interfered for a brief period with the fuel supply. I didn't know. All I knew was I'd got the propellers were windmilling around and we hadn't any power. And eventually the power came on again. And I leaned across to Doug, my navigator. He was a Canadian, a wonderful bloke. And I said to him, you weren't frightened, were you, Doug? And he said, no, I wasn't frightened, I was bloody terrified.
GB News.
All right, 1:50 is the time. Now, 2 supercars were set alight in a suspected firebomb attack at a wedding in Birmingham.
Yeah, the incredible incident took place outside the Royal Shalimar, a Pakistani wedding venue in Sparkbrook on Wednesday evening. West Midlands Police have launched an investigation into the incident. Thankfully, there were no injuries.
All right, well, we're joined by our national reporter, Charlie Peters. I mean, what can you tell us about this, then?
Well, that's extraordinary footage, isn't it? The moment that those, what appear to be Molotov cocktails, were thrown at those supercars and people leaving this wedding venue in Birmingham last night. It actually took place at around 8:50 p.m. Yesterday, and that CCTV footage we've been playing for you shows those vehicles burning and also smaller fires where they've missed what we assume to be the intended targets, including one right at the front of the venue there on the left of that footage. Now, it showed several people dressed in black outside the venue. You're looking at that now, and those petrol bombs then, what appear to be petrol bombs, being hurled at the cars. We do know that West Midlands Police have launched an investigation. They actually provided a statement to us this morning saying that 2 cars were set on fire and they were called to the Royal Shalimar on Highgate Road yesterday evening. They say that 3 men were spotted running down Mole Street before getting into a white Volkswagen Golf and driving off. They added, fortunately, no injuries were reported. So they do have some understanding on who might be involved here. Some suspects there. 3 men, we're being told, spotted.
No descriptions?
No descriptions provided. Mark, no descriptions provided on any more details beyond the fact that a white Volkswagen Golf was involved and it drove off. No further images provided there. They have said that they've been speaking to witnesses and reviewing CCTV as part of the investigation. And they also added, fortunately, no injuries were reported. I have a quote to bring you from the Birmingham Mail, local news outlets said they spoke to one of the 500 guests attending this wedding when the incident took place. Said, I was inside enjoying my meal when this very serious incident took place. I was aware of a disturbance outside. The restaurant staff responded very quickly and put the flames out using fire extinguishers before the emergency services arrived. They also added, everyone stayed very calm, but it could have been a lot worse. And you're right, I mean, look at the footage there. The chap there on his phone appearing to record the situation and then suddenly being jolted by one of those supercars setting alight. This quote continues. Young people were standing not far from the cars that were firebombed. One kicked one of the missiles away before it could roll under one of the cars. 1 young child was just a few metres away. It could have been very bad indeed. The police need to find those responsible.
And have said nothing about the motivation, inter-gang rivalry or...
personal feud?
There has been no information about what could be behind this incident. No guidance on perhaps this, if this is a inter-gang rivalry situation, if there was a vendetta against anyone at the wedding. We don't have any information what could have motivated this fire-bombing attack. But It is also quite curious just to see those supercars parked up outside the venue as well.
Not what you want at your wedding, really.
Certainly not.
But this is a trend, isn't it, Charlie, very briefly, of hiring these very expensive cars for weddings.
That's right, Mark.
Just for display.
Yeah, quite common in South Asian communities for hiring supercars around these venues, around these occasions as well.
Thank you very much, Charlie. A curious one that is. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Do stick with us. We've got a lot more coming up, but let's get to the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Plenty of showers around today for many parts of the UK, but especially for England and Wales, where there'll be thunderstorms and it will feel much cooler compared with summer so far. Marked change in weather, high pressure now out to the west of the UK, low pressure to the east, and that's bringing this cool northerly airflow and instability, causing a lot of shower development into the afternoon. The most lively downpours with hail and thunder moving through northern England into the Midlands and parts of Wales by the afternoon, merging to give longer spells of rain. In between, there will be some bright spells, especially in the far south, although temperatures at 22, 23 Celsius mean that it's actually below average for a change further north. Even cooler for Scotland, northern England. Still some showers, not as many or as lively as recent days. So we end the afternoon and go into the evening with further showers, but they'll be easing across the southwest while continuing through much of Wales, the Midlands and eastern England. Frequent showers for Northern Ireland, not quite as heavy as Wednesday's showers, and for Scotland and northern England, mixture of cloudy spells, some bright spells, but also frequent downpours. Longer spells of rain for northern Scotland and a brisk breeze from the north. That's going to make it feel on the cool side overnight, wherever you are, but especially for northern parts of the UK. Under any clear skies, temperatures will fall into the low single figures in places, perhaps even a touch of grass frost in sheltered parts of Scotland. And in the south, 13, 14 Celsius, but certainly a fresher feel as we start off Friday compared with so many mornings recently. There'll be further showers through the day on Wednesday, but they'll be more focused towards Northern Ireland, Wales and the southwest, again with some heavy downpours here. A few showers trundling down the eastern coast of the UK. In between, mostly dry, a lot of cloud and certainly feeling much cooler than recent weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner. First of all, we want to give you £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition, from 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Thursday, the 20th of August. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Mark White. Well, no.
Had we not gone out when we did,
Our security was being pulled. Everyone in the world knew where we were.
I said that we need to get out of here.
Well, now it's time for a well. Harry and Meghan have had a change of heart and are returning to Britain. The Sussexes are preparing to move back within weeks, with Archie and Lilibet enrolled at a British school. But could their dramatic return open the door reopen the door to royal life?
Well, a big U-turn from Harry and Meghan. The King says he'd be delighted to be able to spend more time with his grandchildren, but huge questions remain, including security. Are us taxpayers going to be paying for it? And what does Prince William think about all this, who hasn't spoken to his brother for many years?
I'll take this one, Mark. Asylum seekers are being handed Home Office booklets explaining what rape is, that sex with children is illegal in this country, and that women are treated as equal to men. If ministers believe these warnings are necessary, should those migrants be allowed into Britain at all?
And more than 80,000 immigration offenders have been removed under Labour, but just 6,000 were small boat migrants. Now ministers are considering a Rwanda-style crackdown, you couldn't make it up, involving overseas return hubs.
A Home Office U-turn means the migrant site in Wethersfield will now stay open until 2029. It was supposed to close next spring.
Well, a grieving father says he was targeted by an AI service offering to bring his late fiancée back to life for him. So we're asking, should loved ones be recreated?
Sorry, you're making me laugh. This isn't a funny story. Should loved ones be recreated after death, or is grief here being exploited for profit? I'm really sorry for giggling there. Mark just made me laugh. You know, once you've got the giggles, it's hard to get rid of them, even when you're talking about very serious matters indeed. I would like to say, though, because I was just looking at some videos of people receiving their GCSE results, and it looks like people got very good results indeed. So congratulations if that's you,
well
or your
done.
child, or your grandchild, or whatever.
Yes, indeed. You know those days when sometimes you look at the autocue and the words don't make sense? That's one of these days, I'm afraid.
That's quite all right. It happens to us all. It happens to us all.
Shall we give the audience some respite from us and go straight to Tatiana Sanchez for the news headlines?
Thank you very much and good afternoon. The top stories. Prime Minister Andy Burnham says the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's planned return to Britain is a private matter when asked by reporters whether the government would pay for their security. Harry and Meghan are set to return to the UK 6 years after leaving for America. They're expected to move back at the end of August for their children, Archie and Lilibet, to attend British schools this September. It's understood the King was only made aware of the move on Sunday, which His Majesty is said to be pleased about. The GCSE overall pass rate has fallen slightly for the 5th year in a row, but top grades have edged up across England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Meanwhile, girls have once again achieved better GCSE results than boys, but the gap between the genders is getting smaller. The results published this morning show 73.7% of females and 67.8% of males achieved grade 4/C or above in their exams this year. The Education Secretary Lucy Powell spoke this morning.
All students will, continue to study maths and English where they haven't achieved that good grade in GCSE maths and English. They'll continue to study that until they're 19. But what we need to do is create more stepping stones, more pathways, so that young people aren't facing these huge barriers of entry to moving on to doing an apprenticeship, for example, putting and keeping children on this treadmill. This cycle of constant resits, which only one in five students are actually passing or gaining the grade 4 when they're resitting them. It's a shocking figure.
In other news, the Prime Minister has defended new government advice that will tell asylum seekers that rape and domestic abuse are serious crimes. The Home Office released a 7-page booklet telling asylum seekers not to rape women. It follows a rise in migrant convictions linked to sex attacks. Official government guidance informs arrivals it is illegal to hit and control women, and they cannot sleep with anyone underage or asleep. The Prime Minister spoke this afternoon.
As a government, we have a very clear principle. If you break UK law, you will be removed from the country. And we have seen that in relation to immigration, where removals are significantly up. I'm currently working to ensure that foreign national offenders who can be removed from the prison system are removed from that system. So it follows that if we're taking this approach, people are made it's made explicitly clear what the UK law is and what the societal norms of the UK are, and that's why this approach is being taken.
And the Shadow Secretary of State for Transport, Richard Holden, spoke to GB News about this morning.
Got to detain and deport within a week. That's why Conservative policy under Kenny Badenoch is to pull out of the European Convention on Human Rights, because the truth is that without doing that we cannot get people out of our country. This new policy the government have also been talking about moving asylum seekers around to different parts of the country. I'm old enough to remember when Robert Jenrick was Immigration Minister, talking about how he was doing so well at setting up all these new asylum hotels around the country to ensure that people were being dispersed. We don't want to see people dispersed. We want to see people detained and deported. That's what has to happen, and I think that's exactly what we want to see now.
In other news, United Kingdom maritime trade operations have received confirmation that a tanker has been boarded by 6 armed persons who are now in control of the vessel and redirecting it to Somalia. It came after a tanker broadcast a distress call that they'd been approached by an unauthorised vessel whilst travelling west in the Gulf of Aden. Now, the boss of Travelodge has quit amid a backlash over the chain's handling of a sexual assault at one of its hotels. Jo Boydell has been criticised for her response to the guest safety row that followed the attack in Berkshire in 2022, in which a man had been given a key card to his victim's room. Kieran Smith, who'd claimed to be her boyfriend, was jailed in February for 7.5 years. Then Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer urged Ms Boydell, who had run the chain since May 2022, to seriously engage with the government on the safety issue after she cancelled a meeting with MPs. And an ADHD charity has complained to Ofcom about a Channel 4 documentary that suggested the condition is a myth. The programme, titled The Great ADHD Myth, was broadcast on Tuesday, and its host, NHS psychiatrist Dr Max Pemberton, concluded it was a social construct, not a disorder of the brain. The Royal College of Psychiatrists also warned against invalidating the condition. Channel 4 defended the show, saying there is considerable public debate on various aspects of ADHD, and it's legitimate for that debate to be explored and challenged. It also followed a 10-year-old boy who stopped his medication and made lifestyle changes to see how it affected his behaviour. Those are the latest headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 8 minutes past 2, and the Prime Minister has wished Harry and Meghan well ahead of their move back to Britain.
Yes, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex will return with their 2 children later this month before Archie and Lilibet start school in September.
I do wonder where they're sending them. Anyway, King Charles and Prince William have been informed, but the couple are not expected to resume royal duties.
So, what do the great British public think about the return?
They trashed the whole country numerous times, betrayed their family, betrayed his king, his father, went out to America, and now they're bored and now they want to come back.
He's just truly British at the end of the day, and he just misses home. But I don't know, it's very odd. It's all been a complete surprise to us, hasn't it? And it doesn't fill me with joy, doesn't fill me with sadness. I'm fairly neutral about it.
Surprised, but on the other hand, I can kind of see for him, probably feels a bit cast aside. So he's come back, and I guess the guy lost his mother, so cut him a break sort of thing.
We're joined by our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker. Now, Cameron, what Emily just said in the introduction to the interviews with members of the public there, I found quite interesting. She said you were interested to know what school they're going to. Because they will have had to get pre-agreement with the school concerned for that to happen. So the school have been very, very good at remaining tight-lipped, and it's not got out.
Well, exactly. The school have remained tight-lipped, and so has the property people who've been clearly either selling them or giving them property to rent, all of which has happened without the media knowing, which counteracts their original argument for leaving, which was there's too much intense media scrutiny and too much intense media spotlight on them. And that's by the by. We don't know what school the children are going to. I doubt very much we're ever going to be told officially. They're not working members of the royal family. We don't need to be told. It's not the future king we're talking about here, like Prince George, who we know is going to Eton in a couple of weeks. I suspect, knowing the British newspapers in this country, we are going to find out at some point. Nonetheless, they are private individuals and a 5- and a 7-year-old, so perhaps we should put those two to one side. I think the biggest issue concerned for the government, and possibly Harry himself, is this security situation. Andy Burnham basically saying there's nothing to see here, we don't comment on security, which is what the Home Office has been telling me for a good year now, or telling us for a good year now. But the problem is, if taxpayers are suddenly going to have to fund their lives in the UK in terms of the security arrangements, which could potentially cost millions if it's close protection officers 24/7, I think the public and the British public have a right to know that their taxpayers' money is being used to secure non-working members of the royal family who arguably don't give anything back to this country officially. Now, the other argument to make to that is that Harry is still fifth in line to the throne. He still does support a number of charities in this country. He's certainly got a foothold in this country. The other option, of course, is that the security has not been increased. There is no change to the security arrangements he has in this country, and therefore he's not, the British taxpayers not out of pocket. But I doubt that one very much, because he was prepared to spend a lot of money, Harry, fighting His Majesty's government in His Majesty's courtroom, putting the King in a really difficult constitutional position. He said on the record in an interview that his father wouldn't speak to him because of the security issues. So it's been a huge crusade of his. So for him to suddenly give this up now, in terms of the security arrangements, and if the security is not being increased, I have to ask the question why. And I think that's going to be hard to get to the bottom of here. But Harry, you know, observing him in the UK when he's on charity engagements, he's clearly in his element. In Invictus in Birmingham just a couple of weeks ago, he was clearly really enjoying it. I think the other stuff went pretty well. Last September was a big success because it didn't have the added distraction of the catastrophic failure of the Associated Newspapers trial. So for him, this could be a good sign, although it's going to be hard to thaw the relationship with William. Meghan, I'm struggling with. I'm not quite sure what her foothold is in Britain, and I think it's going to be more of a challenge for her to adapt than it is for Harry.
Well, we'll see. Cameron Walker, thank you very much indeed. We wanted to get a little bit of a local perspective too, because Harry and Meghan, well, people are saying the rumour is that they're going to be moving to the Cotswolds. So we're joined now by the audience and content editor at Cotswold Journal, Jack Rawlins. Jack, so how do you think this will go down? At the moment, we're all thinking that they're going to be moving to the Cotswolds. Will the locals like that?
Hi, good afternoon.
I think it's one of those where you'll have some people that they need to win over, but ultimately, in my experience, the Cotswolds is a very welcoming place, and it's perhaps the perfect location, really, for them to move to if they're planning on moving back to the UK. It's that idyllic location that should be able to offer the security that they need, and for in terms of the people. It's one of those. The Cotswolds is very used to having high-profile people, celebrities moving into the region. I mean, earlier this year we had Liam Gallagher move into the area, and it's not something that residents are new to at all. So it'll be very interesting. But I'm sure a few will be quite excited about this news this morning and this speculation.
Everything we know about this couple tells us that they're not going to be satisfied with a little 3-bedroom cottage. Any big old stately homes up for sale that you know about around your neighbourhood?
Well, usually we're constantly putting out coverage on huge mansions worth millions on the Cotswold Journal sites, across Chipping Norton and quite a lot in the North Cotswolds area. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of options around the Cotswolds area that are perhaps some of the most prominent locations, really.
Jump out to you though, Jack, or are you not really a big sort of property fiend in that sense?
Well, I imagine the Chipping Norton area. There's already a bit of a kind of a set there of celebrities that seems to be a bit of an influx there at the minute. So I would imagine that might be an area that we look at as an area where their interest might be, given they're obviously living it up in Hollywood and California. There'll be plenty of well-known neighbours, I would imagine, if they were looking to move into there. Yeah.
The Chipping Norton set there. What about schools in that area around Chipping Norton? Any sort of prominent, well-regarded schools that might be an option for them?
It's hard to say, really. I mean, there's plenty of kind of high-profile schools all around the Cotswolds, really. It just really depends on what area they go for, really. It'd be difficult to kind of name a particular one, really. As I say, I'm sure as I say, that will be well under wraps, and it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see which area they move to.
Is Ellen DeGeneres still the American superstar TV host? Is she still in the Cotswolds? Does she still have a house? Do you know?
I believe so. Yeah, because obviously her and Meghan have been friendly at one. I'm not sure if they're what their relationship is, but they were certainly friends at one point. So she's still based in the Cotswolds. Yeah.
Not Chipping Norton, perchance.
I'm not too sure the exact location, but yeah, she's in and around, as I say, that particular, I believe the kind of the North Cotswolds area. Yeah.
Well, I think their Montecito mansion is worth something like $11 million. So if they want to get an £11 million house in the Cotswolds, they could get a very, very large one, I imagine.
I'm sure they could.
Jack Rawlins, thank you very much indeed, audience and content editor at Cotswold Journal. I mean, it'll be all people will be gossiping, won't they? In the local pubs, cafes,
well, yeah,
shops.
As I say,
Where are they going to live?
I'm very surprised that, schools that have been approached by Harry and Meghan to have their children educated there and have agreed this, that something hasn't leaked out, from a member of staff, from a family member that's children attend school.
Well, just having a little look at Chipping Norton in Rightmove, there's a splendid selection of properties that they could go for, from the traditional sort of Cotswold brick, sort of cottage-type mansion to the more stately homes, as you were mentioning, Mark. It's
going to be stately home, isn't it?
Do you think?
Or some ghastly new thing that's very sort of Californian in style.
Oh no, it'll be like Out of the Holiday, the movie, you know. Anyway, time for the Great British Giveaway. It's your chance to win £60,000 and a real gold bar. You have to hurry though. Lines close at 4 p.m. tomorrow.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner and join our exclusive list of giveaway champions. First of all, we want to give you a ton of tax-free cash. £60,000 in tax-free cash that you could use however you like. Treat your family, treat your friends, or treat yourself to a luxury 5-star holiday somewhere like here, all as Santi by Domes Resorts. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on Friday.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well,
Yes, good luck with that.
There's also a beautiful a detached house here in near Cheltenham, £9 million. Beautiful, 10 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms.
Does Patrick know he's going to have to go house hunting with you in the Cotswolds now?
I think that one might be a tad out of our price range, but you know, if we win a few competitions like that one.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Oh yes, we're going to be joined by Tom Harwood. Yes, he's out in Washington DC. We're going to find out the American reaction to losing Meghan and Harry. Are they gutted?
We'll be able to hear the cheers from here. But after the break, asylum seekers are being handed Home Office booklets explaining what rape is.
All of that and more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get this on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Dawn's got in touch. She says, not Dawn News, but a different news. What am I talking about? Anyway, Dawn Rose has got in touch. She says, it's Tom Harwood's fault. He arrives in the States on Sunday, then same day Harry and Meg suddenly decide to come back to England. 4 upticks on that one.
I know. Poor Tom.
I know.
It's not his fault.
It's what he wanted to be reporting on, you know.
So,
Meghan and Harry's life in Montecito. That's why he's out there.
So when he gets back here, then they're going to be skedaddling out again, you reckon?
Yeah, but...
So it's going to be a short-lived visit then.
Well, we're going to find out what the Americans think about all this. But first, United Kingdom maritime trade operations have received confirmation that a tanker has been boarded by 6 armed persons who are now in control of the vessel and redirecting the vessel to Somalia.
Yeah, this news came after a tanker broadcast a distress call that they had been approached by an unauthorised vessel while travelling west in the Gulf of Aden.
Well, Charlie Peters is here, our national reporter. So why does this matter potentially to us here in Britain?
Let's just go through the distress signal they put out on the automatic identification system, the tracker that's put out for vessels. They said, pirate on board help. That's the Cebu 1, this Eritrean flagged tanker. And Emily, it matters because these routes are extremely precious right now. Maritime trade is under tremendous pressure due to the ongoing US-Israeli-Iranian war. That's put, obviously, tremendous strain on the Strait of Hormuz, and there's been a lot of focus on being able to redirect ships through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, that very small corridor leading through the Red Sea up to the Suez Canal to get oil, gas, fertilizer and other products into the Eastern Mediterranean, into Europe. But amid the redirection of assets into that area, we are seeing a resurgence in Somali pirate activity and also, of course, the Yemeni Houthis. So ships are currently essentially in between a rock and a hard place right now, trying to sneak through that narrow waterway. We've seen quite a few ships actually moving more towards Somalia in their direction as they go towards the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, because they don't want to be close to the Houthis with their drones and their missiles firing at ships. But now it seems they're going to have to move further away from Somalia.
Around the Horn of Africa.
Indeed.
Which is just going to add really very significantly to the costs of products that we get in this country, because...
Yeah, how many miles would that add to the
shipping costs are just enormous.
It would add weeks to a journey if they had to go around the Cape of Good Hope down via South Africa. To put it into context, between 2005 and 2011, Somali piracy cost about $18 billion annually when they were hitting hundreds of ships every year. The American Naval Task Force deployed. It was an immense operation which eventually got it down. But I think they're seeing, and they're very patient people, of course, terrorists and pirates. They can wait for years to restart this illegal trade. For many Somalis, obviously, this is as good as it gets, the piracy. They're now seeing an opportunity, as so many navies have shifted east to deal with the Strait of Hormuz, and indeed many navies are keeping away from the area because it's so dangerous. A lot of European navies don't want to risk their blood and their treasure in this war that they say is not their own. Somalians are getting back in on the violence. And there is also evidence coming out, Emily and Mark, that the UN are saying that the Houthis in Yemen have been supporting these Somali terrorists, not only with weapons, but also with intelligence products and also training to allow them to better target and seize these vessels. We've seen many of them going on recently. There was one just a few days ago on the 17th of August. In May, we saw a tanker being seized by Somali pirates near a Yemeni port, and Before the 2 seizures this week, I can tell you that all of the tankers that they had seized, the Somali pirates, were carrying oil and fertiliser. These are the commodities where the prices have shot up. In Britain yesterday, we saw our inflation hit 2.9%. The price cap has been lifted for energy up to 13% in July. Prices are going up. If the Red Sea gets shut off as well, they'll go even further.
Yeah, we were just talking to a farmer who was concerned about the price of fertiliser.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the biggest issues with Somalia, of course, is it's got a huge long coastline. It's got, at best described, a very dysfunctional government. So these are lawless coastal communities along that huge coastline that you're looking at, where young guys can earn 75 grand a year, which doesn't sound like a huge amount to us, but is an absolute fortune in Somalia. So you can see why they are interested in this kind of pirate activity, Charlie.
Yes, and we have seen the Somalian government launch military operations against the terrorists in their country, but there has also been a lot of pressure internally on getting rid of UN peacekeepers, getting rid of Western forces in the area. It is a very dangerous neck of the woods, there's no doubt about it. There is a significant British military deployment, there are Western military deployments throughout Mogadishu, but they're very limited in activity due to just how dangerous the rest of the country is.
All right, Charlie Peters, thank you very much indeed. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Do stick with us, but let's get the latest news headlines.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. The top stories. Harry and Meghan are set to return to the UK 6 years after leaving for America. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are expected to move back at the end of August for their children Archie and Lilibet to attend British schools this September. It's understood the King was only made aware of the move on Sunday, which His Majesty is said to be pleased about. The GCSE overall pass rate has fallen slightly for the 5th year in a row, but top grades have edged up across England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Meanwhile, girls have once again achieved better results than boys, but the gap between the genders is getting smaller. And the Home Office has released a 7-page booklet telling asylum seekers not to rape women. It follows a rise in migrant convictions linked to sex attacks. Official government guidance informs arrivals it's illegal to hit and control women, and they cannot sleep with anyone underage or asleep. Those are the latest headlines for now. More at the top of the hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
All right, good afternoon, Britain. Lots more coming up on today's show. We're going to be joined by our very own Tom Harwood. He's been out in Washington, D.C., and he's finding out today the American reaction to losing Meghan and Harry.
It'll be hip, hip, oh, we're so sad.
Or they might not even have a clue that they were there to begin with. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Plenty of showers around today for many parts of the UK, but especially for England and Wales, where there'll be thunderstorms and it will feel much cooler compared with summer so far. Marked change in weather, high pressure now out to the west of the UK, low pressure to the east, and that's bringing this cool northerly airflow and instability, causing a lot of shower development into the afternoon. The most lively downpours with hail and thunder moving through northern England into the Midlands and parts of Wales by the afternoon, merging to give longer spells of rain. In between there will be some bright spells, especially in the far south, although temperatures at 22, 23 Celsius mean that it's actually below average for a change further north. Even cooler for Scotland, Northern England. Still some showers, not as many or as lively as recent days. So we end the afternoon and go into the evening with further showers, but they'll be easing across the southwest while continuing through much of Wales, the Midlands and eastern England. Frequent showers for Northern Ireland, not quite as heavy as Wednesday's showers, and for Scotland and Northern England, mixture of cloudy spells, some bright spells, but also frequent downpours.
Longer spells of rain for northern Scotland and a brisk breeze from the north. That's going to make it feel on the cool side overnight, wherever you are, but especially for northern parts of the UK. Under any clear skies, temperatures will fall into the low single figures in places, perhaps even a touch of grass frost in sheltered parts of Scotland. And in the south, 13, 14 Celsius, but certainly a fresher feel as we start off Friday compared with so many mornings recently. There'll be further showers through the day on Wednesday, but they'll be more focused towards Northern Ireland, Wales and the southwest, again with some heavy downpours here. A few showers trundling down the eastern coast of the UK. In between, mostly dry, a lot of cloud and certainly feeling much cooler than recent weather.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A1 is closed after the A151. The M26 is closed after the M20. The M27 is closed at Junction 2 in Romsey due to fire. The M5 is closed between junctions 24 and 25 in Bridgewater South. The M1 is closed between junctions 9 and 11A in Luton. The M25 anti-clockwise is closed between junctions 22 and 21A in Chertsey. In Scotland, the M8 eastbound has queuing and one lane restricted at junction 19 on Kingston Bridge. And on the trains, Grand Central and Great Northern services between London and Stevenage are facing major disruption. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Well, welcome back. Prince Harry and Meghan are leaving the US and heading back to Britain.
Yes, the Duke and Duchess are set to arrive with their 2 children later this month, 6 years after 6 years living in California.
So, how are people reacting to the news across the pond?
This is what we want to know, isn't it? Let's cross live to GB News Deputy Political Editor Tom Harwood, who's in Washington, D.C. for us. Tom, how is this going down? What do the people of America make of this news?
Well, it is a big story over here, Emily. The New York Times has written an enormous piece on this, talking about ending a self-imposed exile that the couple put themselves in for 4 years. But I have to say that the reaction is split, depending on if you're reading a publication from the left or the right, much as in the United Kingdom. Different views are available. It's worth saying Katie Miller, she's the wife of Stephen Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff. She's been pretty vocal on it, saying that they're moving back to Britain because they dislike President Trump. Now, of course, we don't know if that's true or not, but that is a fairly common thread across the right-wing reaction here in the United States. Breitbart, the online news website, is saying much the same thing, but also putting it in the context of many other well-to-do people fleeing from California. So there is a sort of American angle there. Page 6, that sort of gossip section of the New York Post, that's saying that there's an admission of failure here for the royal couple, or perhaps ex-royal couple, I'm not quite sure how to describe them, saying that they couldn't survive in a non-monarchical world. They need the monarchy, says Page 6, in order to survive, that their brand is very, very little without that sort of magic fairy dust that royalty gives them. Now, for a sort of more, I suppose, celebrity-oriented reaction, TMZ, or I suppose it might be TMZ over here, just simply says Cheerio California, treating it a lot more like a sort of celebrity gossip story than anything more consequential. I have to say that's sort of a spread of the various reaction across the press here in the United States. In a little moment, I'll be stepping out onto the streets of Washington, D.C. to try and find out what your everyday American punter thinks of this, and frankly, whether they've noticed. But ultimately, this has spilt many, many words across the pages of the American press.
And, I mean, Tom, I would be fascinated to see what Donald John Trump has to say about the couple and their departure from the United States. Absolutely no love lost. I'm sure he'll have a barb or two up his sleeve.
He may well do. He's so far, however, kept silent on the matter, not taking to Twitter, not taking to Truth Social. Perhaps we can intimate his view by reciting once more those words of Katie Miller, of course, close to the Trump operation. But of course, the day is young here in Washington, D.C. We may yet hear something from the president as the hours tick on.
Absolutely, and I'm sure we'll come straight back to you if you do hear what he has to say. Well, have a lovely day in Washington.
Yeah, wonderful. Looking forward to your show. Midnight tonight, when I'll have all the reaction from the United States to that news that Meghan Markle is leaving them for Blighty.
For Blighty, little old Blighty. What was it that actress said? Miserable old rock in the sea or something?
Yeah, something
Kate Keating. Anyway, Isabel Fekirlak is in Wethersfield because there's an asylum centre there that was meant to close in 2027 but is now staying open to 2029. And of course, with this new context, this massive story from the Home Office sending out these sort of little pamphlets for asylum seekers telling them what rape means and that you can't have sex with a child even if they say yes, and lots of information about consent and how women actually matter in this country.
Yeah. Isabel, how are people in Wethersfield reacting to the news that we're giving out this kind of advice to these people that may be coming to that camp right next to them?
Well, good afternoon, Mark and Emily. Yeah, utter shock here in Wethersfield and in Braintree, a nearby town, from residents as they hear this news that these booklets are being handed out to asylum seekers here in Wethersfield. The site behind me, you can see the Home Office announcing an expansion on that site that currently able to house 800 asylum seekers, male asylum seekers between the age of 18 and 65. Now that has been extended to have 1,245 asylum seekers on site. It's also been extended until 2029 potentially, as opposed to the original plans for it to close in 2027. And locals are very concerned about this. And I'm about to speak to a resident who lives neighbouring the camp. How have you been impacted, Tony, by the camp being right on your doorstep?
Well, we're 4 years into this now, so we've had it's death by 1,000 cuts, really. And look, if anyone had 800, 1,000 people move next door to them, with the best will in the world, you're going to be affected. So it's everything from noise, how you feel about things, and changes to your daily life.
And house prices as well.
Well, that goes without saying. There's so many different anecdotal stories, and in fact from local estate agents, about people that have had to take their house off the market, haven't been able to sell, which of course a lot of people, myself included, have got our pensions wrapped up in our houses. And I think that's where the government has led us down, to be honest with you, because while they've been so busy looking after, getting things ready for people that are coming into the country, the people that are most effective in local communities, small local communities, are just being forgotten about.
And now there's been this news that asylum seekers in the UK are being handed out these booklets that explain our laws, particularly surrounding it being illegal to have sex with children, also that women are equal under the law here in the UK. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think it's shocking, quite honestly. I think everyone that's seen this has been shocked and probably appalled by it. And I think the government can't have it all ways. You can't say it's safe and sound and these people are no trouble and there's no element or escalation. And on the same token, on the other hand, have security in the base there. Security for what? No security outside the base. And 100% there are concerned people.
Now, the Home Office, of course, say that the use of these military sites to house asylum seekers is part of their wider efforts to crack down on the use of asylum hotels, save the taxpayer some money. What would you expect the Home Office, the government, to do?
Well, I think the argument's a bit bonkers, to be honest with you. You've got hotels that have people dispersed amongst town. I can understand why people don't want other individuals in there, but by the same token there's a large amount of people in a town or a city. When you put it into places like Wethersfield, Piddington, Crowborough, where Wethersfield, 400-500 people in the village, you're overwhelmed. Piddington, 350, overwhelmed. So that doesn't make sense. There's nowhere for these people to go. So take Wethersfield, they're bussed in 3 buses a day to 3 different locations. I think you've been into Braintree today. And of course that kind of makes sense to get people out and about to the towns. Why not put them there in the first place?
Thank you very much for talking to us, Tony. Hearing local concerns here in Wethersfield, also been chatting to people in Braintree all day who hope they have their voices heard. They don't feel like the government has listened to them, and we'll hear more from them throughout the day.
OK, Isabel Fekulak in Wethersfield, thanks very much for joining us.
It's worth noting, isn't it, today as well, that the Home Secretary has been speaking a lot about how we need to spread people around communities, make it fairer for everyone else. Rumours that she's now, well, reports that she's now thinking about bringing in some kind of Rwanda-style crackdown on sort of offshoring or removing failed asylum seekers. I mean, not sure how much confidence there is.
Well, I don't know how much confidence there will be in communities where they fear that people being sent there are a risk group. So, yeah.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up.
A grieving father says he was targeted by an AI service offering to bring his late fiancée back to life for him. So, should loved ones be recreated after death, or is grief being exploited for profit?
Yeah, it's a pretty strange one. I think there are some ethical questions to ask. Now, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there. We continue to see heavy rain across parts of the Alps over the next 24 hours. Plenty of hot sunshine across Greece. Sunshine continues across parts of Spain and Portugal. 1 or 2 showers there on Friday across Madeira, but plenty of blue skies across Portugal into Spain. Just 1 or 2 showers possible, but that heavy rain continues across parts of the Dolomites and the Alps, but plenty of sunshine in Greece. Athens there, 35 Celsius. And for most it remains sunny through the weekend and into the next week too.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
I remember it vividly, the first dogfight over Biggin Hill, over New Addington. And this particular morning, the war started. My mother had asked me to go and get her a pint of beer from she wouldn't have drunk or anything, but she liked to drink on a Sunday morning. So she said, oh, son, she said, go down and get me a bottle of beer, will you? I mean, all was quiet in the Western Front. So I said, yes, mum. So I'm going down the road now. I hadn't gone 1/4 mile, and all of a sudden there's this confusion, all this noise and that, zooming and banging. I thought, what on earth's that? And I looked up, and there they were, dogfighting over New Addington.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Joining us now is Head of Advocacy at Big Brother Watch, Jack Colson. Jack, interested to know your view on this. You know, why shouldn't I be able to wear my Meta glasses around?
Well, certainly there are times and places where Meta glasses might be of use, particularly for those with visual impairments. The technology really could be a breakthrough, but we see these as the tip of an iceberg. Meta's glasses have already been potentially linked to facial recognition technology, which really would be a stalker's charter. And we are operating in an environment where perpetrators of harassment feel safe to use this technology when really it's the public who ought to feel safe. So the government ultimately are going to have to explore restrictions on this kind of technology, and we're seeing civil society push back.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I have a real treat for you, because I have found women. Yes, and these women are badly behaved in Benidorm, and they've been here for, how long have you been here?
Since Tuesday. Yeah, just a week this time. Normally we do 2 weeks, but just a week this time.
And whereabouts in the UK are you from?
From Surrey.
Surrey.
Manchester. Salford. Doncaster.
Quite the mix, I would say. Are you getting ready to go into the strip?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
why not? It's iconic. We do
Love
culture
Benidorm.
first and then the strip. That's the right way round, right?
if you say so. Will you be out on the strip?
Most definitely, yet again.
And what's so attractive about it?
The strip or the culture?
The strip.
What am I allowed to say on TV?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. This is Good Afternoon Britain. It's 2:48. Now, a grieving father has revealed he was targeted by adverts offering to create AI versions of his late fiancée.
Well, grief tech companies create digital avatars of people who've died using their image and their voice.
But critics warn the technology could exploit people at their most vulnerable. Well, we're joined by the AI expert and AI Hive community lead, Thea Montgomery Anderson. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. This is a difficult one. I mean, this man has written about this for the newspaper, for The Telegraph, talking about how he was shocked, firstly, to see that there were sort of these avatar recreations of people who have died. And the idea is that that would help someone who is grieving. They can talk to them even. They can have some sort of back and forth. It could help them with their grief. But he felt like he was being targeted at a very vulnerable state. And he said, I don't want some AI version of my lost loved one. That's not what I want. Sort of leave me alone.
I think there is an issue with definitely these AI avatars and targeting somebody when they're vulnerable. That obviously comes down to data collection. How did somebody know at that point in time that he was vulnerable? Evidently from his search. Maybe he searched for a funeral, right? And there are times and places for people to be hit with certain types of advertising. But I personally think this will have to be regulated because when you're in a very vulnerable streak, you don't know, this man could have been an alcoholic at some time and then that would have pushed him back over the line. Yeah. You don't know where this is going. I can see that there's merit in it. I personally had my dog's DNA cloned, but I went searching for that advice.
Did you?
Yeah, totally. It's in South Korea. So I'm not anti it. I have a client even, I have another business which is PR, and I have a client who's a spiritual medium. But the way we advertise is not seeking to find people who have recently had deceased people. And we put up posters in coffee shops. We look for, advertising for people who have expressed interest in spiritualism and mediumship. The spiritual church. For instance, people go there looking for these solutions. And I think the company has done companies are doing a PR boo-boo here because you really have to allow people to find you in a place that is appropriate, not at a time when they are vulnerable, potentially. And there's a bigger question around this for me, like the collection of data, the things that people reveal.
Yeah, I mean, it is that bigger question, I think, that you've highlighted there that seems to be a real concern because we're more than aware of the dreaded algorithms, but the harvesting of this information and knowing exactly when to target an individual at a certain time. And as you say, they could be very vulnerable because it's the loss of a loved one. They could be willing to impart lots more data than they would necessarily do normally.
Definitely, and that data could be used to sell them things that they may not necessarily need or want. The other problem I would have with this is that Gen AI can take your image, it can take even conversations that you've had, and then it can start generating opinions that weren't yours.
Also, just think of the deceased person. Of course, they're no longer on this world, on this alive. But there's something seems a bit morally wrong. They don't know that this is being
ever so slightly morbid about it.
Something very morbid. There's sort of examples in this article given where they're saying things like, I'll always watch over you. I know it must be hard for you to look after the kids on your own. Honey, I miss you, and all of this. I mean, I think it's very strange. Very strange.
I think, if you give consent before you die, and also personally...
If there's consent before you die, yes, but that would be very different, and I imagine there isn't that.
No, I can imagine there's not. I mean, I have done hackathons where people have been building products that allow people who have had dementia, for instance, and just other people to give out their life stories so that their loved ones, like 3 or 4 generations down the line, can find out how it was for them. Yeah. But that is obviously their consent, their life story, their way.
That's not a bad idea, actually. Or someone who, faced with a terminal illness or whatever, wants to get that information out to a loved one. they then feed all of the relevant points that they wanted to get across in their lifetime that can stay with someone after their death is a little less creepy, I think.
Absolutely. Thea, thank you very
just
much
them
indeed.
making it
My
up.
pleasure.
Well, yeah. Thea Montgomery-Anderson, their AI expert and AI Hive community lead. Well, let us know your thoughts on that one, but that is basically it from us. Mark?
Yes, well, stay tuned because the wonderful, the remarkable, the incredible Martin Daubney will be here at 3 o'clock.
Magnificent, handsome, beautiful, intelligent,
He's going to have all your reaction to Harry and Meghan. Stay tuned.
And other things.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Plenty of showers around today for many parts of the UK, but especially for England and Wales, where there'll be thunderstorms and it will feel much cooler compared with summer so far. Marked change in weather, high pressure now out to the west of the UK, low pressure to the east, and that's bringing this cool northerly airflow and instability, causing a lot of shower development into the afternoon. The most lively downpours with hail and thunder moving through northern England into the Midlands and parts of Wales by the afternoon, merging to give longer spells of rain. In between there will be some bright spells, especially in the far south, although temperatures at 22, 23 Celsius mean that it's actually below average for a change further north. Even cooler for Scotland, Northern England. Still some showers, not as many or as lively as recent days. So we end the afternoon and go into the evening with further showers, but they'll be easing across the southwest while continuing through much of Wales, the Midlands and eastern England. Frequent showers for Northern Ireland, not quite as heavy as Wednesday's showers, and for Scotland and Northern England, mixture of cloudy spells, some bright spells, but also frequent downpours. Longer spells of rain for northern Scotland and a brisk breeze from the north. That's going to make it feel on the cool side overnight, wherever you are, but especially for northern parts of the UK. Under any clear skies, temperatures will fall into the low single figures in places, perhaps even a touch of grass frost in sheltered parts of Scotland. And in the south, 13, 14 Celsius, but certainly a fresher feel as we start off Friday compared with so many mornings recently. There'll be further showers through the day on Wednesday, but they'll be more focused towards Northern Ireland, Wales and the southwest, again with some heavy downpours here. A few showers trundling down the eastern coast of the UK. In between, mostly dry, a lot of cloud and certainly feeling much cooler than recent weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner. First of all, we want to give you £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225.